Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Were you muted?
Dude, I'm trying to tell you to go. My mic was messing up. Welcome to the UGA. You're just sitting there like, help me out.
I didn't know what you were saying. I was so confused. Great start to this Orange Bowl episode.
All right, guys. Man, what a start. Much like Florida State's night, didn't get off to a good start either to this show. So 63-3. I'm trying to tell you to go. I'm trying to mess with the mic. Anyways, guys, we appreciate you joining us. This is the UGAsports.com Postgame Overreaction Show presented by UGAsports.com. I've just got thrown off completely here. Guys, if you're watching for the first time or a loyal listener, you know what we like to do. We like to know where you're watching us from. Put that into the comments. We'll put it up onto the screen. And then also, if you want to join the show, the link is in the description. And the show is yours, guys. It's yours to ask questions. It's yours to overreact to. Jason and I are just here to bring this thing and move this thing along so we can have some fun one last time in 2023. Again, sorry that my mic was jacked up. Glad you guys are here. Jason, as we do every show, initial thoughts on this game as I get these folks where they're watching from put up on the screen.
Yeah. And, my first thought is despite the number of opt-outs, despite the number of players that didn't play for Florida State, the committee is very happy and rightfully so. I think when you look at the field, Florida State were the pretenders. I think a lot of people saw that. I think, especially for those who follow Georgia, those who, or maybe the more casual football fan, when it came to four best, you're trying to select a playoff of the four teams that are going to be the best, the most competitive. I know deserving has been thrown in more so this year than previous years, but when you're trying to select the field, when you can't include everybody who's had a good season, you have to dwindle it down. And I think tonight proved, look, Georgia, the way Georgia played tonight, I don't know if any of the four teams that made the playoff beat them. They were fantastic. It was they saved the best for last. To me, it was more about Georgia tonight, but also Florida State had no answer. They have no depth on their roster if this is who's taking the field in the absence of some of their better players, especially on defense. And so it was just a game among unequals. You had Georgia, who very much proved they should have been more in the discussion than they were when it came to it after the loss to Alabama. And then you have Florida State that, even if the second stringer who hit the transfer portal, I don't think he does much of a difference.
No.
Jordan Travis is probably the only one that maybe keeps it a little more competitive. And even then, you're looking at probably a 49-17 Georgia victory if Georgia plays the same way. If Florida State has a few more players. Georgia was outstanding. And I think put the kind of statement game out there that is going to have people discussing, especially depending on what happens in that Texas-Washington game. Because I know this has been a little bit long-winded here, but
no, I'm going
Texas.
Through, so many people have put where they're watching from, and I appreciate it so much. So just keep going. I've still got like 10, 15 more to go. So
yeah. Well, the only reason Texas is in the playoff is because Alabama beat Georgia. What's funny to me is if Georgia were to beat Alabama, this is probably the first round matchup with the second string quarterback Tate Rodebecker. And it's probably a beatdown. Maybe not as bad as you saw tonight because, Florida State would have had more players there. But when you look at schematically, when you look at talent, when you look at depth, Georgia had them at every position, every level. And so you see why the committee ultimately left Florida State as an unbeaten Power 5 champion out, whether they deserve to be there or not. It was clear that they just aren't at that level. Georgia exposed them, embarrassed them tonight. And now you just have to kind of, if you're a Georgia fan, if you're a Georgia player, coach on that staff, you're just kind of now stuck wondering what if you beat Bama because, just that short of, possibly having a three-peat.
Yeah, no, it's initial thoughts from me. That was a statement game from Kirby Smart and his team. It's just, he knew that this game was going to be talked about. These were the two teams that were snubbed, if you will. This was the snub bowl, and Georgia came out and absolutely just put it to Florida State. And Florida State, Danny Cannell has been on Twitter tonight, Florida State advocate, Florida State quarterback, basically saying, hey, we had all these opt-outs. Well, Georgia did. Georgia had 21 guys in the portal, 5 starters not playing either. Great point here by Jason King. He says, this is what happens when you build your entire team off of the portal. No player development with your backups.
Yeah.
Everybody that played for Georgia, homegrown, you had those true freshmen to come in. I have to pull up the stats here. We got started so quick, Jason. I appreciate it. I didn't even get to pull the stats up. But there's freshmen catching passes. I know Lawson Lucky had one. Anthony Evans had one. I don't want to sound stupid, but there's a couple more. So let me pull that up. But yeah, it was a wild game in the sense that I predicted 49-10. I thought that Georgia was going to stomp these guys, and 63-3, only to beat the highest ever bowl margin of victory by your own team last year against TCU at 58. You beat it and close out with 60. It just kind of goes to show, like you said, if Georgia, if all these ifs, right, Jason, but had Georgia beat Alabama, they're winning a 3rd national title this year. They can't do that. So what did Kirby Smart do? He locked his guys in and said, look, we're going to go out here one last time and show them, they kind of messed up by not putting us in this thing, and dropped 63 on Florida State. Sure, Florida State had opt-outs. Sure. But you play the game, right? It doesn't matter. Georgia had guys not play either. Georgia had guys into the portal. Marvin Jones Jr., he's going to Florida State. He didn't play,
Yeah.
So Georgia has, the same type thing. Sure. Had Georgia's quarterback not been in there, they would have had to go with Gunnar Stockton. Well, Gunnar Stockton looked a hell of a lot more poised than as a 3rd string guy, considering, well, now he's a 2nd string, 3rd string guy compared to Florida State's 3rd string guy. So, I don't buy that whole thing. You have to play with who's out on the field, right?
And I think you hit it right there. Player development, or the comment that our buddy in the chat made. It's player development, and Georgia's built such a great depth. Georgia had some of the same issues. I didn't expect Florida State defensively, with how strong they've been defensively all year. I did not expect them to just get steamrolled and just exposed and embarrassed and annihilated and every other word you want to use there by Georgia. Just, they looked like a JV team. They looked like a JV defense going up against Georgia. And, I see a lot of comments. How do you leave Georgia out and all that? It's a weird year. You get why they did it, why the committee did it. But in retrospect, 2 things. Again, I'm going to be very, very interested in how this Texas-Washington game plays out, mainly because of Texas. If Texas loses that game, I think that's your starter, because I know people say, look, Texas beat Alabama. You have to include Texas. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if you have to include Texas just because they beat Alabama early in the year. Alabama, it comes down to that eye test. Alabama, at the stage of the season we're in now, is not the same team that got beat by Texas early on. It's similar to college basketball when a team improves over the course of a year. They lost a head-to-head, but that team gets seated higher because the committee's like, yes, obviously this team is way better than they were earlier when they had that non-conference matchup. I think that's how you have to look at it. Texas didn't have a schedule after Alabama that made you convinced that they were of the 4 best teams in the country. They just had a win over Alabama, and that is why they got in, because the committee didn't want to leave Texas out if they were going to have Alabama jump all the way from 8 to 4. And so that's where Georgia comes in, because I think you could have, when Georgia's only loss is by 3 in the SEC championship to Alabama, and Alabama playing at a much better level than when they played Texas early in the season, which I think everybody's eyes can see,
right,
and justifies that. They would have caught some heat for that, yes. But at the end of the day, I think, again, I'll be interested. If Texas goes and blows out Washington, then I think it's a moot point. But that's why I'm very interested in this Texas-Washington game, because if Texas comes out flat, I think there is a big case to be made that the committee blew it by trying to avoid that conversation of, well, Texas beat Alabama and therefore Texas deserves to go as well as Alabama. It should those decisions should never be a kind of like a package. It should have been.
That's what it ended
at
up
this
being.
point of the year. When you compare all the resumes, who are the 4 best teams?
Yeah. Let's bring on the man, the myth. I already said you're the man, the myth, the legend. So I don't know. He's just the man, the myth. Andy Stowe. What's up?
I'm not much. What's going on, guys?
Oh man, 63-3. I was hoping Georgia would get to 70.
Me too.
I was hoping Jackson Muschamp would break that thing off. That was awesome to see. There's so many things, right, that this game kind of brought to us. And Roderick Robinson, Kendall Milton, absolutely looking like a different running back.
Yeah, he does.
And I hope that this and his combine pushes him in the draft, because he looked absolutely freakish tonight. 9 attempts, 104 yards, 2 touchdowns, all in the first quarter, basically, almost a little bit in the second quarter. Dylan Bell's the guy. God, he's so good. Somebody to look at next year. Dominic Lovett early on had 3 catches. He'll be back. He had 592 yards on the season, Andy. So, I mean, Oscar Delp, his blocking. There's so many things that we're going to dive into throughout this show. But what's your initial thoughts?
Well, I mean, one, we're going to miss Lad McConkey. That guy's he's just next level good. I love that guy. I don't think we appreciate him enough for how good he is. And I know Eddie thinks he might come back. I don't think he's coming back. Is that a done deal? I don't know.
I don't know.
He hasn't announced, but I mean, I would be surprised if he came back.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back. But I mean, but really, you see those linebackers. You see how talented they are. I mean, we're going to have a really good defense. I still think we're going to have some help up in the middle on the defensive line. But I mean, you got talent. That's what Florida State. I was just actually, when you mentioned Danny Cannell, I started reading his stuff, and he is talking about.
He went off the deep end tonight, brother.
Oh, he is going to kill himself. He posted a 2-minute video for the haters. And even he's running his mouth to Ben Watson. Like, you don't talk junk to Ben Watson. Ben Watson is a scary looking dude. And but yeah, he's talking about maybe if you wouldn't have choked versus Bama. Yeah, he's losing his mind over here. But I mean,
what's the game? As Swamp Careers is a good one. Todd says, "Go for Mississippi. Love your show. We appreciate it." Freshman showed out. Ra did have a foot injury. Somebody asked about Ra. Tom asked, did Smile even play? He did not.
Nope.
He was injured as well. But there's another one, didn't play. It's crazy how some teams have guys that don't play, and you can justify losing by 60 points. And then some teams have guys that don't play, and you're like, oh, well, we didn't have more guys than you. So
yeah,
it still should have been competitive there. There's one guy who's competitive. I'll bring him on now. I'm going to get John in just a second, but I'll bring both of you guys in because you guys were here first. Bring both of you in here. Unfortunately, we've got to bring Eddie from Ackworth in. John, I'll get to you. Unfortunately, we'll get to the real callers in just a second, guys. I gotta let Eddie get in first.
Happy New Year to you too, buddy.
Hey man, how you doing, Ed?
Jason, how are you tonight? Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, you too. Yeah,
Merry
doing
Christmas,
well, man.
Happy New Year.
Absolutely. Hope the holidays have been great for you.
Yeah, it's been great. I hadn't had to see Paul for 2 weeks. It's been absolutely awesome. And look at that, clean shaven. I love that.
Like that. Like that. Yeah, for the new year. New year, new me.
To play with here, huh?
Yeah.
What do you do when you're thinking?
Yeah. I can't. I don't know. I'm losing it. Yeah. New year, new me, though. So,
Andy, hope you're well. Good to see you, my friend.
I'm doing good. Recovering from the cold, the funk stuff that everyone's getting. So
Oh, double G's in the chat. Watch out. Gary's here. It's over for y'all. The king of Twitter, Eddie from the A, Fred F says, "Oh boy, don't hype him up too much." Eddie, what you think of this game?
Well, first of all, overall it was sickening because we should be waltzing into a three-peat. I mean, just watching this, right? I mean, we're the best team in the country, period. Point blank, we are. I don't care what Bama does going forward. I don't care what Bama did against us. That was the worst game we played all year. And I want to say this real quick before I get to the game. If we had played with that much aggressiveness against Bama, we waxed them in the SEC championship. They were throwing it downfield, pushing the ball downfield. And on that first drive against Bama, it looked like we're going to blow them out. And it looked like Bobo just kind of, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, Jason. He let off the gas, got conservative, got scared, whatever. But real quick, this was the statement to me on this game, guys. 43 seconds left. We got the ball back. Okay, we're up 35-3. He made Carson Beck throw the ball downfield to score another touchdown. That was an FU to the committee. That's what that drive was. Screw y'all. This is who we are. We're the best team in America, period.
Okay,
and I loved it.
So I've got to ask, though, because you said had Georgia played like this against Alabama, they would have won the game. So is this game more Kirby let his foot off the gas, or not? He put his foot on the gas and just said, look, let's air it out. Let's do what we got to do. And he was a little bit more conservative against Alabama. Is that where you're going with this?
Yes, I think all of it was too conservative. Bobo, Kirby, all of it. It was just we scored that first drive, and I think all four of us were like, or all three of us in this room were like, hey, we're gonna blow Alabama out. And it just kind of changed from that point forward. Very conservative play calling. I'm telling you, throwing the ball downfield. Look at Dylan Bell. He made two incredible catches. Okay, you throw the ball downfield like that against Bama, you may get Kool-Aid McKinstry making a dumb penalty and you get 15 yards out of it. We did none of that, it seemed like, after that first drive.
Well, we were struggling. We were struggling blocking those guys, though, and we didn't really struggle blocking tonight. We were able to keep these guys.
That's a good point. That's a good point, Andy. That's a really good point.
I mean, I think that's the difference. I think it was that D line because we couldn't. I mean, we struggled against Bama.
Did we look aggressive against Bama?
No, we did not. I'm with you, but I think it was because we couldn't block them.
You've covered a lot of these teams. Why did this? Was this game just like, hey man, we're in the Orange Bowl, baby. You can't hurt us, so we're gonna go out there and have fun? Because it looked like to Eddie's point, it looked like a completely different team. Now let's also go back and say, hey, Florida State had almost their entire first string defense not playing due to injury, draft, transfer, whatever it may be, opt out. So that also helps this look a lot better than the Bama game. But I also see where Eddie's coming from, in the sense that it did look like the offense was a little bit more loose. It looked like the playbook was just wide open and they were having fun with it. Where are we at, Jason? Can you bring us?
Well, you got to go back. Yeah. Well, against Florida State tonight, they could run the ball and it was easy.
Yeah.
If you could run the ball easily against anybody from the beginning of a game, you're going to blow out. You're going to put up points. You're going to do whatever you want. They were able to throw off of it. They were able to do anything because it started so well up front. Georgia could not run, as Andy said, they couldn't block, but particularly they could not run block against Alabama. And they kept sticking with it against Bama a little too long, at least for my liking, probably to their liking. And, sometimes you get those two, the too high safety look, and that's a run look. And so you're on the ball, but Alabama stopped it. But, and a lot of times coaches, and I don't know this, for a fact, I have no idea if this was the case, but in a lot of situations, a coach gives two plays to a quarterback, or there's always a check, or something like that. So you can have a play, it could be a pass, but then there's a run check off of it if you have a look, such as two high safeties. That could have been what happened against Bama. And it was like, hey, look, at a certain point, you got to tell the quarterback, hey, the run's not there. We need you to be aggressive. We need to push it downfield. And they waited way too long. It was middle third quarter, down by 10 before they started trying to put the foot on the pedal to play catch up. They didn't have that problem tonight. So I don't know if it's necessarily comparable, because tonight they come out and Kendall Milton's just running over dudes, running through holes. They have wide open lanes. A lot of it, yes. I think there was a big talent deficiency when it comes to Georgia's offensive line, with a mostly second string front four from Florida State. Still, you would think that Florida State had guys. It wasn't like Florida State had guys that didn't play all year. They had guys that were very much rotational players that had game experience. So it's not like they were going against scrubs. But the run game was there. You had a running back who was obviously on a mission tonight. Dejan Edwards had a good game too. And when you can run, you can do anything. And that's pretty much the difference.
Without looking, do you know how many rushing yards we had?
Over 300.
I know Milton had 102. It had to have been close to 300, maybe.
Yeah, 372 yards.
372. Wow.
372 for a 7.9 yard average. That is, if you do that, there's nobody. I mean, obviously,
that's unfair. I mean, you're right. Yeah. I mean, you're not doing that against Alabama. I get it, but that's.
But your point is still valid. I mean, they stuck with it, and they were stubborn with the run against Alabama for far too long, and it needed to be. Whether it was Beck checking to the run or whether they were actual called runs from Bobo as the primary play, Even with the looks they were given, there had to have been a point much sooner where it was, hey, look, it's not there. We need to press things vertically. And unfortunately, that happened too late.
Here's an even crazier stat from Bubby Dean. I've never seen him in the chat before, but it looks like a stand-up gentleman with a nice Georgia tie on. He says UGA's margin of victory in their last 2 bowl games is 118 points. Yeah. Damn.
That's wild.
Like that is.
We set the record. We set the record last year for the largest margin of victory in a bowl game, and we just broke it tonight.
That is hell of a stat there, Bobby Dean. All you had to do was add up 2 games, but nobody thought to do it since you were the first one. 118 is pretty insane. So, Eddie, Andy, come back about 30 minutes. All right. I'm gonna kick you off for a little bit. Let me get some other guys, but I like having you on. So come back. We'll hang out.
I don't know. Your initial statements didn't seem to bear that out, but have a good evening. We'll talk to you later.
All right, let's bring on Big John and Big Dane. John, what's up, man?
What's up, guys? Happy New Year.
Man, John, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. You're the most pessimistic Georgia fan I know. And I don't know. I don't really know. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. 8 more than 92. I don't know how you can be pessimistic on this game.
Oh, no.
But if there's no, listen, John. If there is one person that can, it is you, my friend. So please, grace us.
No, it's not pessimism. It's anger.
Oh.
I've not had a chance to talk to you guys since that Sunday.
Oh, damn. All right.
So let's break this down now that the season's over. You got a playoff team that lost by 4 to a team that finished 10-3 and won the Alamo or lost the Alamo Bowl. Then you have a team that lost by 10 to the team that lost to the 10-3 team, and they're both in the playoff. Then you have a team that was 1 that went to 6 that lost by 3 and just won by 60. And I'm sitting about 100 yards from the University of West Georgia campus, and I don't think that's who we played tonight. I'm pretty sure that Florida State has a pretty good recruiting class, so they're too deep. Probably could have had a little bit of better showing. I'm not Alex Jones. I'm no conspiracy theorist, but
we're grateful for that.
Here's what I do hope. I hope that it's Michigan and Washington, and nobody south of Nashville and west of Nevada watches the game, because I think ESPN. Listen. I'm no smart man, as Forrest Gump says, but ESPN, you got what you wanted. You got Bama in. Now you better hope they win, and you better hope Texas wins, because clearly the committee, whoever's in charge, has completely poo-pooed, and they screwed this completely up. They really have. And I just don't think, I had to sit and listen. I guess it's my fault for doing it for 3 hours this morning to those guys fawning over the playoff game. I just hope they got it right. I hope they got it right. And I've always loved Kirby Smart. I know I'm rambling, Coach Smart, but I thought he was extremely classy in the post-game and the trophy presentation, because he could have went.
Nobody got to hear it. Nobody got to hear it, John. What the hell did he say? What the hell did he say?
He just said, they asked him, and he said in effect that the system – he said, our system is only certain teams can play for it, but these guys did everything that we've asked of them. So
they asked him, I heard it on radio of all things.
Yeah.
Like FM radio still works, my friend.
I thought for sure that Kirby was going to be like, look, hey, y'all didn't bring us to the playoffs. I dropped 63 on this undefeated team. Should have brought us to the playoffs. So there was no hate there.
KD George asked the question, what statement was made tonight? It was a pretty good question. Very simple, very short. And he goes, what John's saying? He goes, our team has done everything that we've asked of them, and we have a system that not all teams get a chance to play for the title. And so,
okay. So he did throw shade. He did.
He alluded to shade.
That's some shade.
Thrown, but then he really ejected from that and just talked about his players and their effort. But you could tell that it was there a little bit, that he's like, we're one of the best, we should be playing, and we're not, and we can't control that.
Before we move on, Jason was a big-time Big J journalist for The Athletic, for UGA Sport. I mean, he's been everywhere. Jason, would that be your headline for this game?
No, I don't make much of that statement.
Okay. All right. Fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Let me ask you guys something, if you don't mind. Do you think that the the committee really thinks that they got it right.
I do. I think they think they got it right, and they talked themselves into it because Bama won and because Texas beat Bama, that they had to have Texas jump into the Final Four, and they played the more deserving card than the best card. Because
do you think that after watching this game they still think that?
I bet, like I was saying earlier, I bet they're going to be as clued into Texas Washington as I am, because if Washington wins that game and Texas doesn't look that great, I think that's your gripe if you're Georgia.
I think this is one of those few years where like there isn't a right answer. Like there was going to be some aggrieved party in this one way or the other. Georgia is one.
That's true, yes.
Florida State is one. Like to me, I think the SEC probably should have been shut out based on just where the standings were, what the teams did. Like I think Florida State should have been a playoff team. And I know they would have lost in the first round based on the circumstances. But I don't like the committee getting involved at that level. I want them to say, here's what's happened, and you've earned this as an undefeated conference.
Well, my thing real quick is, I don't know if we'd be making as big of a deal of it if they didn't have this ranking every single week. If they just got together at the very end, had the selection show, much like college basketball does. College basketball doesn't refer to the AP or the college rankings or any of that. I think they might do a late mid season, like, hey, here's what the seeds would look like. I can't remember if they do that.
I don't think they do that. It's just I don't think they do that. But
if it was like that, I don't know. I think it would be you would have the kind of a cloud of you don't know what they're doing, you don't know what they're deciding, and instead you see what they're deciding every week, and then all of a sudden they flip it. And you're just sitting there going, why? I don't understand the logic when kind of like because if you're like what Dane's saying, if Florida State is number 4 and they go win the ACC championship, how do they fall out? Georgia's number 1. How do they fall out all the way when you just saw what transpired on the field in the SEC championship? How does Texas, with how they've looked and who they've played, jump in to number 3 after all that? There's just a lot at stake. If you're the committee, I don't know why. I mean, I know why. It's ratings and money, but I don't know why they would want to subject themselves to that, because I think they have it a lot easier if you don't know the process week by week, and they just get there at the very end and they make these decisions and then justify it then, because the weekly comments, they don't add up, and that's what creates a lot of this outrage.
Oh, and I think that it was almost 2 different scales for individual teams, because a lot of the things that the committee said about Florida State that made them not worthy, I could say the same thing about Michigan, but I don't think that they were scrutinized to that extent. Like J.J. McCarthy was trashed for the last month of the season. Like I can't tell you that Michigan's quarterback play has them in a position that like they should be one of the best 4 teams in the country, but because they were 1 or because they beat Ohio State. Like you can go all these things.
So we saw Ohio State lose to put up 3 against Missouri.
But I can't sit here and tell you that Florida State with 3 weeks and Brock Glenn, I think they probably would have competed with a mostly full roster against Michigan. I do.
Here's my question to you guys. This whole college football playoff thing, it's great, right? We're going to 12 teams next year. I don't think, and we saw this kind of setting up, Dane, Jason, John, we saw this setting up week 10, week 11. We're like, hey, there's too many teams that are unbeaten or with 1 loss right now. And normally, most years, it works itself out. You have, the what do they call the last week of the season? Rivalry games.
Rivalry week, yeah.
Rivalry, yeah. You have rivalry week that knocks out some teams. You have the champion. It just didn't work out that way this year.
I mean, Iron Bowl tried to.
Right. You had enough teams, but not enough spots. Next year, you've got 12. Nobody's going to be able to gripe, right? If you're the 13th ranked team, you put yourself in that position.
I actually thought the broadcast did a good job by explaining that if the top 4 spots are going to
I saw that the top
conference 4 champions, and I that's ridiculous. Like just seed them 1 through 12.
But here's my question, John. Why can't we just have a look into this committee room where they're deciding what teams are going on? If they want ratings, I mean, I couldn't tell you if you had that show on for 4 hours and we could listen to everything they're saying, because there shouldn't be anything that is behind closed doors. There shouldn't be any politics involved with it. There shouldn't be anybody saying, hey, throw my team from my division in. This should all be based on football. You put that on ESPN too. You don't think fanatics that are watching this right now wouldn't tune in that? I would have that on the background for 4 hours. I would listen to everything they have to say. Why
they're
can't
not
we
going to do that? Because it would reveal that a lot of those people don't know very much.
That's okay. So why can't, is that one reason, John? I mean, why can't we do it?
I mean, you guys are the experts. I'd imagine it has a lot to do with it, and it's all this. There is politics involved. That they don't want people, they don't want people peeking behind the curtain, seeing the man behind the curtain,
right?
And I just have 2 more things, and I know you got a lot. To Dane's point, if Auburn would have beat Alabama, does the SEC get shut out, or does Georgia still get in?
In that scenario, I think Georgia probably beats Alabama. Like, I don't think Alabama goes to Atlanta with the same juice.
Yeah, that's
right. There's probably an effect to how they play.
And then my last comment is, how filthy can this team be next year if everything on paper pans out with Colby Young and ETN, and then if Bullard comes back, which he probably is not, I don't know, on defense, like they could be, but despite the schedule, they could be really, really, really good next year. Really good.
No, I think so. Top 3 team next year, preseason.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, for sure. They may finish in the top 3 this year.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something, right? I mean, they're going to have to finish above 4. I would think they're going to at least be 4th. So, be interesting to see. John, we appreciate
really aren't
you.
even a ton of like positions of concern, right? Like, you're not going to have a tight end as good as Bowers. You know that, unless, by God, if he came back, but he's not going to. But maybe that and receiver just for proving it, but the talent's going to be there.
Yeah, for sure. Just like the talent is in Carrollton with
Thanks,
John.
guys.
We appreciate you, brother. John's the man. Dane, 63-3. Lawson Lucky.
I was about to say, was that a question?
No. I just threw your name out there. Arian Smith, got him a little tutty. Anthony Evans, got him a tutty.
I think he's going to be good.
I think he is too.
Yeah.
I think that Kirby also did a great job with playing guys in this game and doing some roster management, making sure, hey, don't enter that portal, big dog. Come back. And I think, for the most part, he's going to try to lock it down. I did see, I think it was Jeff Sentell. Shout out to Jeff Sentell. He took a picture of Marvin Jones Jr. saying that he was sitting on Georgia's sideline behind their bench, even though he's transferred. So I'm curious there. That's interesting. Not saying that he's going to come back or anything, but I do find that kind of weird that he was on Georgia's sideline and not Florida State with his new team. I don't know. Don't quote me. Don't shoot the messenger. Had a lot of early enrollees, guys, being able to get down there and, throw around the football and play some defense. Who impressed you that we haven't seen so far really this season the most tonight? There was a lot of guys that got some action. I mean, you could go with Gunnar Stockton, sure. He had 2 touchdowns, but I'll let you pick who you guys want to pick.
Yeah, I was going to go with we just named him Anthony Evans. I thought
that
he had 2 plays. One he was interfered on, and the other one, he got the touchdown, and then of course the 17-yard punt return. It makes me wonder why he wasn't. I mean, maybe it was how many games has he appeared in this year? So I mean, maybe he can keep the red shirt.
Anthony Evans? Ooh, I don't know. I'll look that up for you.
But considering Mekhi Muse obviously dropped the ball, it just kind of just from a personal standpoint, I was a little uneasy every time watching him, field a punt. And then in the Alabama game, Evans comes in and has that electric run. He had I thought a 17-yard return tonight was spectacular. Made some guys miss. Just shows that speed, and I think that he can be just a dangerous player. I don't know why Jameson Williams comes to mind, but I think. Anthony Evans. I love just the little that I saw tonight.
It's the shiftiness. He's
really
shifty.
Yeah. I think he can be outstanding in this offense.
He's got catches in multiple games here, so he does not have a freshman or a red shirt.
More than 4. He appeared in more than 4.
He's more than 4 for sure. Yep. But great pick. I like the Jameson Williams comp there. I like that.
I'll
Dane, who you got?
I'll give you a pair of running backs. My boy Cass Jones. I mean,
Stop.
Of course.
Stop.
Of course.
you force a fumble, you get some carries. You know, you get held, and Lad McConkey runs around you for a touchdown. Like, that was a really cool play. But then when Roger Robinson came in, like, he had energy, like, ready to go. And really, that's, to me, I think the story of this whole game, because when I'm reading Hugh Freeze's comments after the game and saying Auburn has disease of me and like the locker room's not great, and
the disease of me. I also saw where he said that he was recruiting this week, right?
Right. He said he didn't have time to focus on his offense this week because he
that is insane.
Yeah. But like, you hear all that, and like, bowl games don't matter, and it's like the same thing is true that other than the playoffs, if you lose a bowl game, it didn't matter, and if you win a bowl game, it gives you momentum into next season. That's how it's going to be spun for every team that plays in these things. And Georgia has a lot of positive momentum. If in some psycho world that Florida State would have won this game, it wouldn't have mattered, and that's what everyone would have said about it.
True,
but Georgia cares, and that's different for other players and teams. And now Georgia has depth to where when you don't have as much experience, you can still play very well in these situations. And some teams just don't have that luxury. But the fact that Georgia played the way it did, that these backups come in 40 points down and they're like, I'm here to play like we play, that's a differentiator for Georgia. And you can call it culture, you can call it whatever you want to, but that's what Kirby Smart's built. That's the special sauce. And as long as that's there, Georgia's going to be in the mix for a championship every single year.
What about, I know this is, I don't know if this is the best pick, but CJ Allen, he led the team in tackles, but he just looked, he looked big. Like, he had a little neck roll on, true freshman. And I was talking about this. I went and watched the game with my in-laws, and I was like, look, this kid basically beat out an all-SEC linebacker, and that all-SEC linebacker transferred before this game. As a true freshman, do you know how difficult that is to do after this team has won 2 national titles in a row, and to come in as a true freshman, steal the spot of a guy that is up for all-SEC?
And it wasn't just him. You see Raylan right there on the field too.
Right. Yeah. But I'm like, to do that is one of the most impressive things that we haven't really discussed. Like, we've dove into it a little bit, but I want to see a film Don't Lie on CJ Allen over the offseason, if you don't mind, Dane. That's a little special request, please.
Just for you, or do you want me to publish it?
You can probably publish it. You don't have to just send it just to me. That'd be kind of weird. Unless you want to like just put like, hey, Paul, right here, you could do that.
Okay.
But yeah, you could probably publish that one. But yeah, just incredible how he's kind of done what he's done. And yes, we've talked about it, but not to the extent that I think it should be talked about, especially how if you saw Malachi Starks, I think it was down there in the Orange Bowl, that folks asked him about CJ Allen. I think Dash did. And he said, look, he spoke up as a true freshman in our defensive huddles and defensive tape watches and, things like that. So shout out to him, man. He really is going to be a good one for Georgia. You scare off a guy like Jamon Dumas Johnson, you're doing something. So shout out to him.
Pretty wild that
right?
You had Pop looking over his shoulder to where he felt like it was in his best interest to leave.
Yeah.
The way that room has been rebuilt multiple times. I mean, if you go back to Channing Tindall and the Kobe Dean, Quay Walker, and you're like, oh, they're all gone. What is Georgia going to do? You get Pop and Munden, and they're really good. And then you're like, all right, well, Pop transferred out. Like, what are you going to do? And CJ Allen, Raylan Wilson, Jalen Walker, and like new guys coming in too. Bowles is back there, like waiting in the wait. You're going to lose some of these guys because there's so much talent. And in this case, it happened to be the all SEC linebacker that started for 2 years. But if he's not the best one for the spot, you got to go.
My boy Ducati, he wants that film Don't Lie on CJ too, so I'm not the only one. So there's 2 requests. Anything more than one, I think, is automatically deserving of a film Don't Lie. So there you go. You have to do it. Hey, Jason, do you want to stay on, or do you want me to hold Dane hostage for a little while? What are you doing?
Let me see. Let's check the chat to see if I am needed.
You might be needed now. I think the stories are
I am needed, yes.
All right. JB, as always,
right,
Happy New Year, my friend.
Yep. Happy New Year to y'all. Y'all take care. Have a great rest of the show.
All right, brother.
All
See
right.
you, dude.
Jason. That Masters hat that he's wearing, that's going to get me in the mood for Augusta, man.
Swag. I'll tell you what's going to get you in the mood right here. If this guy doesn't, I don't know who will.
You going double G? Yes, you are.
Double G. What's up, baby?
Hey, guys.
How you living?
Y'all see my Christmas present?
What, you got a little Herschel?
Yeah, a little Herschel there, man.
Okay.
Gary, you know, if Herschel would have grown up about 2 miles closer to the house I grew up in, he would have gone to my high school. But he didn't.
Yeah, you said something about that a few weeks ago.
I remind people a lot, but he didn't go to East Lawrence, and Johnson County was much better.
The folks are
talking about Herschel.
Yeah,
what y'all think about our running back room for next year?
Before you start asking us questions, Gary, the folks in the chat want to break down from you. They don't want to hear from us. They want to hear from you.
Oh, break down on a game or break down on this stupid ass college playoff?
Or break down on life, whatever you want to break down. It's your show for the next 5 minutes.
Well, like I told y'all last time we talked, they got the wrong teams in.
Showed tonight, didn't it?
Well, it showed tonight and last night. Because I told y'all, Missouri was one of the top 4 teams also.
You didn't have to convince Dane or I. We both were on that train, I think. Were we not, Dane?
Yeah, y'all was.
Yeah. Cody Schrader should have been in New York for the Heisman.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
who was your 4? Do you have Georgia, Bama, Missouri, and
I have Georgia, Alabama, Missouri, and I said Ohio State because Michigan's automatically disqualified because they cheated.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You did automatically DQ them for the cheating there.
You wouldn't go Washington over Ohio State?
No. Who they play?
Beat Oregon.
Who they play?
They played Oregon twice, Gary.
Yeah, but that's the only people they played.
I guess.
I got to see what they're going to do in the Big Ten.
Let's see. Corey Carter, thanks for the $1.99. He said FSU voted against expansion and it burned us. Goat Dog says Mr. Stand on Business is here. You know who it is. John says, I need to know Double G's New Year's Eve plans. What's Double G doing tomorrow night?
Their football games, I'll be watching them.
There's probably some games, Gary. There's probably some games. But yeah, tell us about that. Tell us about that running back room next year. What was the question you asked?
We were talking about Herschel. I just said how you think we're going to line up in our running back room next year because it's looking good at the moment.
It's gonna be stacked.
We got ETN coming in.
You need Branson Robinson to be healthy, and I think
Robinson.
ETN.
Let's run through this, Dane. Let's run through this. Okay. Starting running back, ETN. Yeah,
I'll go with that.
Okay. And I don't want to say second string, but second running back to come in because Georgia they don't really have a starting running back. They didn't have one this year either. It's just it all depends.
They have alternating starters.
Right.
What I call it.
So Branson.
If Branson's healthy, I think it's him.
Right. If it's Branson's healthy. After Branson, it gets a little tricky, right? Because we saw, I mean, the talk of tonight, obviously, Gary, is zero. Rob. I mean,
yeah.
Kid looked 240 pounds. I just don't know, Dane, if he is an every down running back. Agreed. That is my question with that. Is he third?
I think your third would be Andrew Paul.
Okay.
Depending
Cash Jones looked good too, though.
Right. So situation after that, but then we got to see these 3 freshmen that are coming in.
We do.
And usually there are positions that freshmen don't play much. Running back's not one of those.
Nate Frazier is a name to watch out for. Nate Frazier is a guy that they're definitely talking about in Athens right now.
But we do realize that we should have had a 12-team playoff this year.
Yeah. Should have.
ACC said no.
That's right. ACC said no.
They're kind of hating that right now because they're getting sued by Florida State. They could have had a team in.
Where's Florida State going?
I don't know.
That won't be the only lawsuit coming. Because I do a weekly radio hit in Clemson, and they were talking Clemson in the month of January is planning on filing.
And I told y'all that Florida State's my second favorite team, and I didn't think they deserved to be in the playoffs.
You did say that. I don't know where they're going, Gary.
But somebody that was on the show was disagreeing with me. His first initial with the E, and he's from town start with an A.
Oh, he's going to be back on the show a little later.
I can be back.
I'll have to ask him about that. Double G. Overall, though, this season as a whole, Gary. Before I've got a couple other folks. I got James with his baby on his chest. I got to bring him in. He's only got so much time. You can come back on a little later with us for sure. Overall, though, if we don't get to talk to you again, what was this season like for you as a Georgia fan?
It was disappointing because we didn't do what we could have done, and it wasn't what held us back was failure to execute against Alabama.
But everything else, though, looked pretty good, right?
Yes, everything else was great, and
So
we got a starting quarterback coming back next year. We have all these other players and coming back, and we may be even. We were probably better this year than we was last year, and we didn't win it. And we're going to be better next year than we are now.
There you have it. The man, the myth, the legend, Double G. We appreciate you, my friend.
I appreciate y'all too. Y'all have a good night and be blessed if I don't get to come back.
All right, we'll see you. Let's bring on Roddy, and we'll bring on James too. We'll get Roddy real quick. Roddy, what's going on, boss?
Not too much, gentlemen. How are y'all?
What's up,
Doing all right. We're just rocking over here. We're rocking. We're moving. We're grooving. 63-3.
Man, I got the new chocolate gummies from Rogue.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have to dip into those in celebration tonight.
Oh, boy.
Hey, look, Dogs go last two postseason, I'll say last two bowl games they played in, the championship game in this one, they're 128-10 victories.
Yep.
They gave up 10 points. And everybody that wants to bitch about, well, Florida State had their third-string quarterback in there. Georgia had his third-string quarterback in there. He scored 21 points. So I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Hell, their fourth-string guy, ran for 14 yards. Fifth-string guy threw a completion. So I don't want to hear it. And my pet peeve about all the people that Georgia, this is a statement game. Georgia's not one of the best teams out there. They're beating a terrible or a opt-out FSU team. They equate transfer portal guys with opt-outs. And if you're going to do that, then you got to do the same for Georgia and say, look, they had 21 opt-outs, and then they had 5 starters who opted out because they were injured. They just didn't. It's marketing. We told people Brock Bowers wasn't going to play. We told them Marius Mims wasn't going to play. We told them Ra Thomas wasn't going to play. Those aren't opt-outs. Those are guys who might have been able to suit up, but they're like, no, we can't. We're banged up. So don't give me this crap about, is Jordan Davis an opt-out? Or Jordan, who's the QB at FSU?
Jordan Travis?
Travis.
Yeah.
Was he an opt-out or was he injured?
I don't know if they're counting him towards that 21 or not. I don't know what they're.
Well, I mean, it's just mixed up. So anyway, I think it's a great win for Georgia, an absolute statement. It's a big FU to the committee for not putting Georgia in there. They go 13-1 with the one loss being a 3-point loss in a real conference game. They didn't get to take on, a middle of the pack, team like everybody else did when in their conference games. They had to take on a very good Alabama team. And if you're going to tell me that Georgia's not one of the top 4 best teams in the nation, I'm going to call you a liar.
Oh, yeah, I totally forgot. Michigan had Iowa in their championship game.
I appreciate or you let Georgia play Louisville and see if they win.
Yeah.
In the ACC
Corey Carter,
championship.
499 says the committee didn't want to run the risk of another 65-7. This is all about entertainment. UGA punished FSU today for voting against expansion. Hey, somebody had to, right? Somebody had to.
Thank you, Corey.
Let's bring on James here. James, I'll move you over here so we can see you. How you doing, brother?
Good. Normally I get on a little bit earlier, but took the time.
You do. You didn't start the show with me. I'm thinking that's probably baby related, though.
Yeah, I got her to sleep so I could spend a little bit more time and talk to you guys a little bit more in depth.
Nice. 63-3, Big James. What did this game do for you?
I was so happy that they put a statement out there, but it's bittersweet because that Alabama game, they played their worst game of the season, and it sucks that with this committee of clowns and some teams get scrutinized resume, some on best team, and it made no sense. But it was just bittersweet to, this is clearly one of the top 4 teams in the country, and if we don't play our worst game of the season and still only lose by 3, we're fighting for a three-peat. And for me, what my goal was for the team was not, a three-peat. I really wanted the Dogs to win the SEC championship and finally knock Bama out. And they didn't have
that was you're lying right now, James. Your goal, you wanted Georgia this year to win the SEC championship, not the three-peat. That's what you wanted the most? Because you knew that the three-peat would come if they won the SEC championship. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, and a three-peat is damn near impossible. I think Georgia loses in the playoffs. They say, I mean, what can we do? We won damn near every game for 3 years. But Bama, that was the one. We haven't won the SEC championship three years in a row. So for me, it was really, knock Bama out, because after that, I think they roll through every team that's in the playoff.
Dog 85 says I picked Dogs by 60. I need to see proof, Dog 85. I need you to upload some type of text message to Imager or whatever and put it into the chat so I can click it. I'll bring it onto the screen. I do not believe you at all that you picked the Dogs by 60. I do love you though, Dog 85. There's no way you did that. I couldn't
find that alternate line, Dogs minus 60.
Yeah, I couldn't find it either, James. It was crazy. I did predict 49-10. Dane caught some flack on his prediction over on UGAsports.com.
I just didn't think that a lot of the Georgia players would have the motivation that you normally see. Like every year, there's a really good team that in this kind of game, they just come out a little flat. And
I think
I never thought Georgia would lose or anything, but I didn't think they would be sharp. And man, they were beyond sharp.
When I saw Brock Bowers practicing, even though it was yoga and stuff like that, and he was still with the team, I kind of knew then. I was like, yeah, they're locked in. I knew he wasn't going to play, but I was like, yeah, they're a little bit more locked in for this game. And FSU, it seemed like every player that even recorded a stat for them was like, nah, dog, Georgia. No, I'm good, man. I'm going to go prepare for the draft. I'm not going up against them. No, sir. I mean, you saw Cedric Van Pran almost killed a man tonight. I mean, it was attempted murder on a football field. If it wasn't on a football field, that's like 10 to 15 years what he did to that guy. So, there's a reason some of those guys didn't want to play.
Well, the difference, too, is just the depth. And it's to Roddy's point of Florida State is this without all these players. Ohio State goes down to a freshman quarterback against Missouri and can't even move the ball. And I just don't see a scenario where Georgia's ever like that. And even tonight where, Gunnar Stockton gets out there for the entire third quarter. And guess what? Georgia's zooming down the field as much as they want to.
Yeah, go back to the fact that the committee said, without your quarterback, you're not good enough. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, if you're missing key players, it affects whether or not you're good.
Okay. Where are you going with that?
I'm just saying, all of a sudden they had these players, they had all these players opt out or go into the transfer portal. Yeah, they were terrible. They got beat by 60, a new record in bowl game losses, the largest margin.
What was the record before that?
58.
What? Who did that, James?
I think it was the Georgia Bulldogs.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. All right. Interesting.
Yeah. So they set the record last year. Georgia beats it this year against remember, they put Georgia behind FSU in the rankings in order to pour salt to the wound. Not only do you drop from 1 to 6, they put FSU ahead of you, then match you up against them, saying that, well, they're not good enough to be in the top 4, even though FSU went 13-0. Therefore, we're going to put them at number 5. And Georgia lost one game by 3 points, so we're going to put them at number 6, even though Texas and Alabama both had losses. So we're going to move them up. And if you're going to say that, losing players affects your team, okay, hey, you kind of proved your point. Georgia lost 5 starters and had 21 players opt out and still beat your ass by 60 points. Come on, man.
Chris
not
Brown
one of the top
says,
5 teams.
Was Norvell being pissy or was it just me? Mighty quick handshake with Kirby. They had some shots of him during that game, man. He's just staring off into the top deck. Man, I wish I was up there right now. I wish I was anywhere but here. He was definitely big mad, James. No?
Oh, he was over it by halftime. I didn't think when they huddled up there that they were going to go back to the locker.
Right. Yeah. No, that was hilarious. Like
they're opting out of the second half, man.
That's exactly. So my father-in-law said that. He was like, it looks like they're all opting out for the second half. He's trying to bring them back in. He's trying to reel them back in. Evan Grimes with the comment of the night, and he super chatted. He didn't have to, but we appreciate it. He said, I'm kind of mad that we didn't let Andrew Smart get some reps at wide receiver. That's
he'd have been open.
Dude, have you seen him? Have you seen him warm up? The dude,
yeah, he can catch now.
He's got hands.
James. He can catch. What you showing us here?
Yeah. So Dane Young, who's on here, had tweeted about have Oscar Delp kind of confidence. You know, Oscar Delp kind of trying to jump over somebody.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Very poorly.
Accidentally hit the triangle button. That's great. That's great for folks that don't play video games. The triangle button in Madden is to hurdle. So he accidentally hit the hurdle button there.
Well, the funny thing is, he gets quote tweeted by his position coach, Todd Hartley, says, hey, triangle button my ass, run through his damn chin strap next time.
Where is that? Where is it? I can't see it.
I have to open it up here a second.
Okay.
But it was
nice.
I'm like, damn, they're talking shit. And have y'all talked about Warren Brinson being on the
IG Live?
IG Live on the sideline?
What did he say?
He was on IG Live during the game
no shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was it last year? They were eating wings on the sideline. This year they're going to Instagram Live.
He was on. Was he just talking shit, James, or was he just like, yeah, we're here? You know, like.
Yeah, it was down at his hip, and I just saw some screenshots, but I was dying. It is full pads and everything, and they got guys on the phones on IG.
There's Todd Hartley. Triangle button my ass. Run through his damn chin strap next time. That's awesome.
All because Dane Young had to be a smart ass.
Yep.
No, I was not even being a smart ass. Like, I want that kind of confidence. Like, I'm not that confident in anything.
Roddy, you know this as much as I do. Dane throws out so many tweets. He tries to go viral. He just throws them at the wall, and he gets this one right here. Last game of the season, he just finally picks one, and it goes.
Finally on the board.
That's all Dane wanted for Christmas, for New Year's, for everything. That's all he wanted. This is it. He can die a happy man now. Congrats, Dane.
I'll be strutting now like that Vince McMahon meme.
Yep. I'm sure that's coming soon. That's going to be on there soon.
Hey, this is a good question from a comment from Fred F. It didn't look like UG had any injuries. That's true, but think about it. Neither starting inside linebacker were out there. You know, Dumas Johnson is off to Kentucky. Smile Munden, he's going to need surgery on that foot. He's been playing on a broken foot all year, or something was wrong with his foot like that. So you had both those guys out. You had Brock Bowers out. You had Amarius Mims out. You had Ra Thomas out. It's 5 starters that could not play, and we don't call those opt-outs, but yeah, just
I'm assuming
it didn't look like it. And it was what was it? Turnover on downs. Then touchdown.
Yes, you had 9 in a row.
No injuries. I'm not even sure they broke a sweat.
Damn it, Mike Bobo.
I've got a question for you, Roddy. So I know what assuming does. It makes an ass out of you and me, but I do have to assume that these guys that are going to the draft are now going to announce that here next couple of days, I would assume.
Yeah, I imagine they're going to announce they're going pro. Plus, you're probably going to have a whole series of round 2 of portal entries.
Yeah,
you could see Marius Smith go in the portal. You could see a ton of guys. Dan Harris might go in. Just because they got snaps and plays in this game don't think that they're still not going in the portal. You could have as many as 7, 8, 9 guys go in the portal in the next couple of days. So don't assume that just because they're not in there now that Georgia is done. I mean, there's still room. There's still time.
Speaking of the new guys, I wanted to know from you guys, who do you think that maybe didn't have a huge impact this year is going to, by the end of next year, going to be a big impact player that we're talking about towards the end of next season?
We did that a little bit with Jason, Dane, and I did. I picked C.J. Allen, but he's going to be a stud. I think Jason picked Anthony Evans, which was a great pick. I think he's going to, be in the rotation there at wide receiver. Who you got, Roddy?
Jared Wilson.
I don't know if that's a cop out because he is going to be the center. So yeah, that's a good pick. That's a starter. That's a starter. Fair enough. Fair enough.
The only guy who's going to touch the ball every snap.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a cop-out pick or not. Dane, do you have one?
What was the question?
A guy that we didn't see much this year, right, James, that we'll see next year? Yeah, we'll see a shit ton of them next year. You're right. So, fair. Anybody, Dane?
Our recruiting guys keep saying that, like, hey, Ellis Robinson can come in and start. And I'm like, well, I mean, that's really hard to do at that position.
So you're picking a guy that's not even like officially on the team yet.
I'm just going based on the hype of the guys that follow the recruiting a bit better than me.
Okay.
If you're saying for guys on the team, like from what I saw from Anthony Evans, I'm excited about that. For Jalen Walker to be more of a leader on the defense besides CJ Allen, I think that's going to be special.
Yeah. Chris Brown says, who's 29 on defense? That's a breakout guy for him. We've got Dylan Bell, another Dylan Bell. Seems like Dylan Bell's the hot pick, but I also think he kind of broke out this year a little bit.
Yeah.
That's I'm trying to go a little deeper into James's question.
What about Sam Mpemba? He's a guy that I really liked when we brought in. I've seen him dominate someone who's first team freshman All-American at tackle. And obviously, you know, I don't get to see them practice or anything, so I don't know about
Nobody does, James.
But Roddy would maybe know more from his insider knowledge, but he's someone that I think is a raw freak talent that I'm hoping after a year of development we can see some bigger things out of him.
Him, absolutely. Gabe Harris, Damon Wilson, the three that came in this year, they're freshmen. They've all had their moments. You know, Wilson just got the surgery. Give me Jordan Hall and Christian Miller. Christian Miller was also out. This is a guy that plays a lot for you this year. He was out tonight as well. Give me Christian Miller, Jordan. You got to have somebody step on the defensive front. I mean, Warren Brinson coming back is gigantic. Getting Nazir Stackhouse to confirm that he's coming back, gigantic. I don't think he's confirmed it yet. We all assume he is, but if he's gone public with it, then I missed it. But then that wouldn't be a first for me. But you got, to me, look at the areas of need. As Dane did, he's like, look, Jordan needs help in the secondary. You got somebody to replace Kamari Lasser, so he goes with Ellis. Perfect call. You got to have somebody to step up on the defensive front, maybe on the outside linebacker spot, you know. So were you picking Mpemba or Wilson or Gabe Harris? Yeah, any of those guys.
Then a shot in the dark because Dane did it. He picked a guy that didn't play in the game tonight, Xavier McLeod. We don't know what Georgia is getting with him, but Georgia likes to, if they bring a transfer guy in, they're not bringing him in normally to, you know, sit around for 2 years and develop. They want to see some production out of him. So be interesting to see what they get out of him.
To that end, James, just because I've done the Film Don't Lie with Brent on the transfer guys that are coming in, like there's a ton of reason to be excited about Trevor Etienne. And I think Georgia fans have seen what his potential is, but shades of Sony Michel there. And so then in my head, I'm like, oh, if Branson really is shades of Nick Chubb and is healthy, like run it back, like get that feeling all over again. Like that would be really, really fun for Georgia. Colby Young, just in terms of like long, rangy receiver. There's not anyone on Georgia's roster like that guy. Now, there are people that do different things and do some things like better, but in terms of just high point, like be athletic, be bigger, like I think Georgia's going to be more complete with its skill players than it was this year.
That's what I thought, Colby Young and Etienne, because with the receivers being gone and, you know, Carson's going to want to be in New York next year. And every finalist at quarterback has a stud, you know, go-to target, Stetson with Brock. And so I guess my only concern going in next year is who are the guys that are the difference makers that Carson's going to be throwing the ball to? Because I felt like against Alabama, guys had trouble getting open. So is that going to be Colby Young? Who's going to be the difference maker when it comes down to it one-on-one, got to make that throw? Carson's great, but are we going to have that difference maker at the outside?
Well, and I think, Roddy, you were saying position need, tight end. This is going to be, and this is not a shot at Georgia's tight ends. It's going to be 2 straight years that the tight end room has gotten worse. And I only mean that by saying, like, Darnell Washington left, you can't replace what he did. Brock Bowers leaving, you can't replace what he did. So who can emerge and become their own star in that room? And maybe it is a Delp. I like what I've seen from Lawson Lucky. Maybe it's Riddell coming in. Like, I think there's talent there, but the offense is going to kind of have to be reimagined when you lose what Bowers brings.
And again, the question is who sticks around? You know, I mean, again, everyone's like, well, Daniel Harris played tonight. That doesn't mean he's going to stick around. Sperling caught a ball.
He might have just been making tape tonight to see if he can get it.
Everyone's like, well, Rod Robinson will be back. I can see Rod Robinson and Andrew Paul going in the portal.
Yeah.
Pierce Sperling he'll get more playing time somewhere else, maybe. You know, again, he's an absolute Georgia guy. I'm just saying hypothetically.
Pierce Sperling looked like a damn deer out there after he caught that ball.
So
dude was taking 5-yard strides.
Well, and sometimes the way they recruit freshmen can kind of give you an indication if like some of the people in that particular room would be thinking about transferring. So you look at just the sheer number of running backs that you have right now with seven scholarship running backs. Come on.
Yeah, it's a high number, right?
And that's not even counting Cash, who plays a lot.
This is the fourth time you've mentioned Cash Jones tonight. You're done. You cannot.
We'll put you on a demerit system.
Yeah.
He forced a fumble tonight. What's not to love about that?
Jeez.
James Cole Spear got recovered one. So,
James, we appreciate you so much. I got the doctor waiting in the background. I want to jump him on here, but we've seen you pre-baby. We've seen you baby now. The baby is growing and healthy. So we appreciate you every week for jumping in on with us, man. We really do.
Thanks, guys. It was really fun. I'm glad to be able to talk some Georgia ball with you guys after games. Love what you guys are doing. Roddy, I'm hoping to get some updates of maybe Purdue transfer coming over and some 5-star in the second portal or in the second recruiting cycle coming over. So
there's a 5-star looking around.
Your tweets on my mentions. As soon as Roddy tweets something, it's popping up on my phone.
Yeah. All right, brother. James, take it easy.
James. Thank you.
Happy New Year. Let's bring in the doctor. What's up, Doc?
What's up, Doc? That's not much.
Christmas stuff.
Yeah, Christmas.
Well, I mean, my wife said I'm Scrooge for that. Should have left it up.
Yeah, you probably should have, but you know what they say: rub some dirt on it, you'll be all right. You know.
Yes, exactly. I think Florida State was a little wounded tonight, and Georgia
a little
rubbed a whole lot of dirt in their face. Van Pran, like Dane tweeted, I put that in my article. Like Dane tweeted out the video of Van Pran absolutely destroying the guy on the screen. Yeah, that was the summation of the game. Yeah. That was like the Mighty Ducks the first time they played the varsity in the third movie.
That was insane. Indie Clip says, you're clicking comments, my bad. He says Dane should be the one to NIL Cash Jones. Yeah. Keep going with you.
I mean, I made a preseason prediction about Cash that I thought he would get to like 500 total yards, but
I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done it.
Started this shit.
That was a culture victory.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was going to ask. What do we learn from this?
Like, it matters. And what the weather, like what's going Roddy tweet or put it on the vent, and maybe it caused a little bit of stir about people potentially getting in the portal. The numbers say that that's going to happen. But for a period of time, you had a leader and a head coach who gets everybody to put that aside, to prepare as if this game is the end all be all, and to play as if this game is the end all be all. One team did that. One team led as if like you as an adult would ideally want to respond to being pushed aside by the committee. Like that's how you as an adult or how you as a parent want to teach your kid to respond. That's how Georgia responded. The other side, not so much. Complete opposite end of the spectrum. It was all about that for me.
I mean, Kirby's a master motivator, right? And then this whole coaching staff and then the older players too. Last year, or I guess 2 years ago, the carrot on the stick was like, they think we're going 8-4. And then no one said that. Yeah. And I know Kirby denied saying that, but like it came from somewhere. Like players believed that people didn't believe in them from somewhere. And in this case, like Kirby made it matter to them to get 50 wins for those seniors. And now he's always kind of cared about like senior legacy and like what are you going to leave behind once you're done here? But to get them to care to that extent in this game against that team after what's happened this year, yeah, like that's leadership, man.
Yeah, it is. It's actually insane how much they cared for this game compared to what Florida State cared about this game. To see two teams, which both go ahead, Roddy.
I think part of that, and I'll give Florida State players credit. They go 13-0. They do everything right, and it gets pulled away from them. Georgia goes 12-0, loses a game. Georgia wants to bounce back. Florida State feels like they got screwed.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to be motivated when you want to get a sour taste out of your mouth because you lost a game. You want to prove that game was a fluke. That game was, not who you are. You go out and you win the ACC championship game with your, backup third string quarterback, and you're like, hey, we're going in, and they take it away from you. You're like, you screw this. You flip the Monopoly table over. You walk out there. You're like, the committee basically told them, even if you go 13-0 in your conference, that's not good enough. Your conference, the type of football you play is not good enough. Winning with your third string quarterback, not good. You didn't score enough points. So I can see, to your point, the culture, and we can give Kirby a lot of credit for, all those guys being dialed in. He is a master motivator. But what is Kirby always looking for when he starts talking in spring ball? He'll start talking about, we need leadership on this team. We need leaders to step up. And if you want to get him, if you want to lose, we get 20 minutes with him every week, usually. If you want to lose 5 minutes, ask him a leadership question, because he will go off on it, and he will talk about how he needs them or who is actually stepping up, and he will call them out for who's doing a good job, because he understands that just like when you're doing recruiting, when you had all those guys come that were being recruited here, the reason you got KJ Bolden probably is because when he went on the FSU visit, I heard it didn't go so well. Comes to Georgia, the visit here, the guys who are playing, even the guys who are not playing, who are your hosts, like, yeah, man, it's great here. And I'm not saying that happened at FSU. I'm just saying that the coaches can tell you to do something, but when it's the other players doing it, it means more. When the other players are recruiting you and they're telling you what it's really like, you're like, well, you're probably not going to start here, but if you do everything the coaches say, you'll get a legit shot. Oh, this is great. This part sucks. And they tell you that stuff, and you're like, okay. So if you're lining up in practice and you have Cedric Van Pran calling you out for not going hard, you go hard. Whereas Stacey Searles is calling you out, you're like, God damn, coach is riding my ass. But if it's, Tate Ratledge, Xavier Truss calling you out, like, man, I'm getting called out by my own guys. I better step it up. They see it. They're not on my side in this one. So if you get the leadership on the team saying this game matters, we want that 50th win. We want to show the committee that they screwed up. Kirby can try to motivate them, but the players themselves. So to your point, Brent, it is culture. And I will give FSU a little bit of credit for saying, look, they got screwed really badly in their minds. Again, I don't think they're one of the 4 best teams, even if they had all their guys healthy. I definitely believe Georgia is. I don't believe Washington is one of the 4 best teams. I don't know that brand of football is, or that conference deserves to be in there. But my point is, give this senior class 50 wins, unprecedented, back-to-back national titles. No one's done that. And they said that this game mattered. They could have coasted. If anybody could have coasted, it could have been the guys that had already had 2 titles in their back pocket, 2 big rings, so and an SEC championship ring. But like, nope, we're going to go kick somebody else's ass because that's what we do. And then the 3rd and 4th string guys got in there, and they kicked ass. I mean, they could have scored 70. Y'all know that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they could have scored.
And I think your point, Roddy, is actually a bigger picture, great point about what's going to matter moving forward in college football. What matters now and what's going to moving forward. Because look at the people that you're talking about that are leading the charge for Georgia and how their attitude and all that sort of stuff from a player perspective. Cedric Van Pran, Carson Beck, who stayed and been there. It's his 4th year there. Seniors versus look at the people who opted out from Florida State. Verse transfer.
Great point.
Keon Coleman transfer. Jaheim Bell transfer. Like, if your team was built in the mercenary model, adversity maybe, all right, peace, see you. Versus we had recruiting and developing and keeping, that's going to matter. Like, Washington's really the only team like that in the playoff.
Because, like, Ole Miss made that work. They're kind of that way, right?
We had a comment to start the show, and it's probably one of the best comments of the night. And basically, to your point, Brent said, this is what happens when you have a team that's built off the transfer portal and a team that's built internally for the most part. You see what happens. This game matters a little bit more to those guys that have been around for 3 or 4 years, as opposed to the guys that have been around 6 to 8 months, if that.
Yep.
So it's completely different. They have that G on.
Well, it's buy-in. It's buy-in no matter what, because I mean, you got to give Dominic Lovett some love. Man. That dude is an absolute baller. He's willing to go out there and die.
But he didn't opt out, though. Is what I'm getting at. He didn't opt out.
I agree with you.
He bought in. Yeah. So it
for
all
all
kind of
that's said that's wrong with like college football and bowl season and all that stuff. Like everything's talking about portal and all that. I do think it's super cool that on one sideline you see Brock Bowers and like he's not going to play. He could be out in Arizona rehabbing and training for his next steps, and he wants to be down there in Miami, standing on the sideline watching his dudes. Like that's where he wants to be. And you look on the other sideline, and there's a lot of things you can point out what's wrong, but Jordan Travis there on his crutches is what's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good point. I
You're
thought you were
right.
going I thought you were going to the.
I thought he was
Roddy
too.
brought up Ole Miss. I thought you were going to bring up my pregame comment about Georgia's schedule next year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Somebody did.
That was just an asinine comment in the
I
group.
don't think so.
Are you going to bring it to light, Paul, or are you going to live it?
Sure. So right before, I know Dash was just cussing, right? Because Dash is a guy of set times, right? And he is all about that
Structure. Needs structure. Wants the structure and wants people to handle their business because he does.
Right. And here comes the doc, Brent Rollins, into the group chat and says, "Oh man, I think Ole Miss could be a top 5 team next year." And I had to come out. I was like, "Yo, what are you spewing?"
You said preseason, right?
Preseason. I just said preseason.
And then we heard from Choppy for the first time in a month and a half, and then it started down this road, and I just know I couldn't comment anymore.
Well, I turned off the group chat.
No, that's because I knew that Dash was sitting up in that press box going, "Damn it, guys, the game's about to start, and y'all talking about this bullshit right here, and we ain't talking about the game. The game's about to start." And oh my God, he's talking to Pat, right? He's talking to Patrick. He's like, "Guys, why are we talking about Ole Miss top 5? The game's about to start. We've been in this press box for 5 hours, guys, and now they want to talk about bullshit and blowing up my computer's about to blow up. Damn it." It's exactly what was going on. And I was like, I can't respond to this, man, because I know I have too much respect for Dash, and that's exactly what was going on. You know it was, Roddy. So I was like, I can't. But yes, it was an asinine take. He said Ole Miss was going to be top 5 next year. No shot.
Preseason.
He's right, though.
I think I'm right.
Right.
The doc's right.
No way.
Their quarterback's coming back. They get all these defensive guys in the portal. They just won 11 games the first time in history.
How is the top 5 preseason determined next year?
It's just
based on how we finish this year.
Yeah, it's based on people that don't watch the game. So Ole Miss, so that's what I'm getting at. If it was by people that watch the game, yeah, maybe Ole Miss would be a top 5. It's based on people that don't watch the game. Ole Miss will not.
Dude, all they've heard about is how Ole Miss won the portal and they beat Penn State and they blah blah blah. The voters
the Big Ten's a sham, especially if Michigan gets their tails kicked in. If Michigan gets their tails kicked in, like by Bama, then it's going to be Bama, Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, Oregon. That's going to be the top 5.
Hey, let's get back to Georgia here. I want to give a shout out to Alvaro Pineros. Try that. 3rd, 4th string players were auditioning, very much so. Some of them were auditioning to move up. Some of them were auditioning for the portal, maybe, but a lot of them were showing what they could do. And again, I kind of made a joke tweet during the halftime. I'm like, hey. Pull all the starters, put in the 2nd string, put in the 3rd string, put in the 4th string, use the second half like a G-Day game. Get ready for 2024. And I'll be damned if Gunnar Stockton didn't walk out there. I'm like,
they saw the starting.
It was 21-3 with them.
Didn't play. And the 3rd, 4th string, to Alvaro's point, they gave up 24 points and 24 yards in the second half. Your 2nd, 3rd string defenses gave up 24 total yards in 2 quarters.
I will say Florida State was running like youth league Wildcat stuff when they're down.
Yeah, it was bad when they started. When they started that Wildcat stuff, I was like, oh boy, they just want this game to be done.
Yeah,
which is interesting because I texted Brent in the first quarter and I'm like, Brock Glenn, I kind of like the way he throws the ball. Like he looked good to me. His receivers weren't helping him at all.
Yeah, he had 0 time.
I thought every 3rd throw would be a deep shot.
Captain Guy Bob with the $9.99 donation says, been watching UGA football since Tarkington was still in high school. Had season tickets during Herschel days. The last 3 years have been outstanding. Captain Guy Bob, we appreciate you so much for that. So
Dude,
glad
the
that
whole Fear family is just unreal. You know, I know his kids. I know the captain.
Oh, you know the captain.
I do. Great family. I hope they had a wonderful Christmas, and I hope they have a very merry New Year. This guy's been a big supporter of our site for a long time. I worked with one of his children, and everybody in my workplace had a crush on his daughter. Everybody.
That's exactly
Anytime Allison came in, the whole business was shut down, and they're just like, "Hey, back to work, people." You know.
Well, can't wait for that $9.99 chargeback. Thank you for the $9.99 to start, though, Captain.
Oh, he knows. Everyone loves Allison. She's one of the greatest out there. And they're all. It's a super family.
They said we need more Dasher impressions. No, do not send that. Do not send that to Dash, guys.
Oh, you know that's going on TikTok.
I'm texting him that
Bobby's cooking it right now.
Dash, come in here and cook this boy.
Do not do that. Will Hewitt says for $4.99 says got mad love for all you guys at UGA Sports and Rivals. Appreciate all the content and coverage you guys give us. Let's go get the crown back. Go Dogs. Yeah, man. You after watching tonight, I can definitely see Georgia fans having a for sure gripe, and it's going to get even worse, I think, Brent, when we watch these two semifinal games, and the lack of production out of those games is going to be the dagger for Georgia fans after watching this 63-3 win. So
Chris is right.
Ohio State could have started Brock Glenn. Yeah.
I will say I did have one. We are on an overreaction show, so I did have one sort of point within what I wrote on the site.
Yes,
after the game.
This might be the first overreaction. This might be the first overreaction. We've been live for an hour 30 of the whole show. So go ahead, please.
Gunner's got to do some work on their release.
Ooh,
there you go, man.
Ooh, he might not be wrong though.
It's too slow.
It's a little slow
from the time he decides to, and the ball comes. Starts coming separating to the time the ball is out. Too slow. It's not fast enough. Got to work on that. Now, granted, we've watched Beck all season, and his is lightning fast, but just got to work on it.
Hey,
unless you want to be QB3.
He might have a slow one, but he ain't slow when he takes off the run.
No, wheels
and
are
that
great.
Son of a bitch will not slide.
Yeah, he won't slide. I was like, man, he just wanted to get hit tonight. He had numerous times where he could have gotten down and he wanted the contact. Yeah.
You wanted contact. Yeah. He's like, and dude, I went and saw him, I think 4 times in high school.
I say it's not Raven anymore.
No.
And it was the same thing up there. It's like he'd make his read, run, or throw. And every time, and my point is, every time I went to see him, the least number of touchdowns that he would score in a game, either throwing or running, was 6. So I never saw him score less than 42 points in a game.
Definitely a playmaker. Wheels are in the feel for it. The feel for where to move to and how to create space in a pocket and or to create space to run. Great. Yeah. But in terms of
I got you on the release.
Got to get it out.
Well, I like that point too, because like he's QB2 right now, and he and Beck strengths and weaknesses about opposite, right? Where
your offense is completely different.
Yeah, when Beck gets into trouble, it's when like the play is off schedule, when he has to improvise, and he scrambled some. He can do that, but I'm saying when he has poor throws, it tends to be not from the pocket, not on time. Whereas Gunner, Brent, we were texting about it a little bit of like, get him out and get him moving.
Yeah, your offense, you almost have to have 2 kind of offenses next year.
That's what I was just about to ask that, because I was watching Gunner and I was thinking, man, he does things that Carson can't, but Carson does things Gunner can't. What if Carson goes down? What happens with this offense? Because to Dane's point, I think everybody saw it. Gunner is electric with the ball in his hands. Yep. He's not a great passer like Beck is, but Beck can't do the things Gunner can with his feet. So what happened?
Become more 2021 Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah.
RPO, mixing QB run.
Okay.
That kind of stuff.
First 3 plays, run. The first and third downs were Gunner running.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I like, and here's the thing. Mike Bobo knows how to use both quarterbacks. And let's give Mike Bobo some love. I mean, you can give him some hell, but he scored 9 touchdowns in a row, and I thought it was some brilliant play calling. Now, Ladd McConkey saved his ass on that double pass, you know.
Yeah, that was
What a play.
well. Cash Jones also got his face mask grabbed on that. I think that was his first read. So
that could be. I'm teasing there, but
Yeah, sure.
for all the folks who want to bitch about Mike Bobo, and look, he dialed up. I think it was the second drive. The last 3 plays or last 4 plays were just brilliant. I'm like, man, Florida State didn't know what the hell was going on. They couldn't get lined up. And he decided to go tempo and just caught them with their pants down and just got them. And Carson Beck checking out of that pressure from the left side, you know, hands it off to Milton, who goes in 15 yards for a touchdown. Great call there. But my point is, you can have a instinctive quarterback who will take off with his legs and run, you know, who is not a great pocket passer, doesn't have that quick release. Mike knows how to use that guy and win games with him. Or you can have a Carson Beck, a meticulous surgeon. He threw a couple darts tonight. They were just brilliant.
The throw to Bell. The throw to Bell was probably one of the
what I was
best
talking about before he even said. And Bell doing
one over his shoulder.
Psychotic things, you know. He had the first, and everyone tells me that I'm wrong for that first pass to Bell that he didn't get around on when they turned it over on downs. It looked to me like Bell didn't get his head turned around there. I could be wrong. Maybe it's a bad pass. I didn't have a good angle on it. But give either quarterback you got, and you give him some weapons, that offense is going to be nasty. A good running game, a good offensive line. The fact that Tate Ratledge is coming back and you have Micah Morris just moving people around. Mike was killing people today. Monroe Freeling looked good. I know they want him to be a little stronger. He'll be stronger by next year. You got Ernest Green. Ernest Green murdered somebody today as well. I said, look, call the police. He killed somebody. Give me those offensive linemen. Give me a running game. Give me some a good quarterback and guys throwing it. Georgia has a ridiculously tough schedule. To your point, they could be facing 3 of the top 5 teams on the road, and you got to like their damn chances just because of the either quarterback being out there. So very impressed with Gunner tonight, and very impressed with the way Georgia used this offense to used him offensively. 3 drives, 3 touchdowns. What more can you ask?
Hell, have a package where you put Beck and Gunner out there at the same time. And
absolutely.
Run RPOs off of him.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
Yeah, that would be nuts.
That would be insane.
So, hey, I'm going to step out real quick. I can bring Eddie on.
Eddie just texted me and said he has 2 overreactions. So, yeah, come back on, Roddy.
Yeah, but when we come back, we got to talk a little bit about the Rogue Shop because I got some new stuff I want to show y'all. But we'll talk about it when I come back.
See
ya. Someone put about Roderick Robinson. So I know a high school coach in California that in that area that is very, very, very familiar with Robinson's game, and was texting with him during the game because he looked as good as he's looked all year. And his comment to me was that, you know, if he could get back to his sort of old playing weight of about 225, get the sort of top end speed. Yeah, he's because the balance and power
look a little too big. He's a little too big right now.
Get that freshman 15 off.
Thick.
Well, and I think a lot of it, you know, injuries he was dealing with probably, I bet, hurt him from a conditioning standpoint. But if he gets in like shape and gets down to, you know, 225-ish, that range, and you add a little more speed to the way he moves and cuts and feels and just bounces off of people, if he's still there, that's. And yeah, I bet he's 240 to 245.
Yeah, he's at least 240 right now. CT, what's up, CT? Eddie, you text me, and I was going to get you back on the show.
Thank you, Paul.
You text me and let me know, hey, I'm still in the lobby. That's what that text was. I know it was. But you said you have 2 overreactions.
I was doing what you said to hang on.
I know.
Right?
I know. So I appreciate
trying to help you. Hey, yes. Brent, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Hope you're well.
Yes, sir. Merry Christmas to you.
2 overreactions. You kind of touched on it there a little bit, Brent. Kendall Milton ran like a man possessed, and that's what we've been waiting on. I mean, when that guy's healthy, he's a beast. Okay. But I'm going to point it out right now. That one run he had, it may have been, we were up 7-0 and he broke loose. It was an incredible run, and he got caught from behind. We don't have that guy who can house it. We don't have it. Is there anybody in the running back room right now? Maybe Cash Jones. Dane's going to say that he can house it.
No, I don't.
Well, that was half kidding. But we don't have that guy. Maybe we do with Nate Frazier next year. I don't know, but we need that. The second thing, do you know how many sacks we had tonight, guys?
No, because that was a prop bet. I put under. Yes, let's go.
And I put over just to go opposite of you, Paul.
Let's go.
Forced a couple fumbles though. Like, do those count as sack? Those don't count as sack as well.
That was the one sack. It was sack.
Right. That was Mykel Williams strip sack, and he got that fumble. That's a problem next year, guys. We have got to get after the quarterback better. I saw that one time where Mykel did that. I was like, that's what we are missing this year. We need that next year to get after the quarterback and cause them problems. We didn't do that this year.
I actually, so to James's point, he says I need a round the horn mute button. I can mute you guys, but I'm afraid that I would click you off of the screen if I did that. And I have fat fingers, so it wouldn't work out. And then they'd be mad because they'd be like, is my audio messed up? So I don't want to do that. But yeah, I feel you, James, because it's crazy.
So Eddie,
I think Eddie's correct though.
Yeah, agreed. And Trevor Etienne may have some of that.
That's one of those answers.
Good,
I think.
A healthy Branson. I don't know the top end speed. Like, I don't think we've seen it, but like, I used to not think that Nick Chubb was fast until he was. You know what I mean? Like, you look at him and you're like, oh,
Todd Gurley never looked fast until he outran guys on the field. You know,
right.
So it's different.
You just don't know what you're getting off that patellar tendon, and that's a tough injury, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't know.
Yeah. Nate Frazier, I think somebody commented, Chris Hayes said Nate Frazier eventually will be that guy, but you're going to rely on him as a true freshman next year. It's going to be hard for him to get up the pecking order in terms of getting carries.
It's Etienne. Like, it's at least for
how much. Okay. Because Georgia loves Brent to incorporate as many running backs as possible. And it's sickening sometimes because you'll have a guy like Kendall Milton who is just running at 7 yards a carry, and then you just take him out after 3, and then you put in Dejon or vice versa or whatever, and that he gets 2 yards, and it kind of blows up the whole thing. Right. The whole mojo is gone. Is Etienne, I don't think we'll ever see it where like Cody Schrader was just Mizzou's guy, right? Is Etienne that type to where you could just throw him in there and just let him go? It's going to have to still be committee based.
I don't think you're ever going to see it. I think you could see the 1-2, like the one, much like you saw towards the latter part of this year once Kendall got healthy. It was Edwards and Kendall, for the most part, and I think that's always what it's going to be at its peak, unless you just have injury after injury after injury to where you literally just have 2 guys. But I think it's, especially with what the schedule is going to be and moving forward, knowing that you're going to have to win potentially 3 playoff games, like at least 2, but 3, maybe 3. Like, you just you're going to do the committee thing.
You also
Chris asked who was the last guy to do it for Georgia that was really a solo guy. Maybe DeAndre Swift, but he still had some help from
even that way. Harriet, Harriet still had a ton of carries.
Yeah, so I don't know.
You hope you just have more well-rounded players though, because you had Dejon Edwards do his thing this year, and then Milton toward the back half of the year was great. But there was a point of the year where Cash Jones was coming out on 3rd down, and it was an indication that it's a pass play, like every single time. Like, that happened middle of the season. Right, where he was your. What are we cheering?
Sorry, West Virginia's going overtime against Ohio State basketball. Random.
West Virginia basketball here on UGA Sports.
Yeah, sorry.
So, Brent, do you think if that carry I'm talking about, if you remember, if that's Etienne, he houses that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I do, because that's much like he did against Tennessee.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
And now to your second point. I've said this on radio show, and other stuff we've done. I think that's an off-season sort of thought process, big picture thing that they're going to have to look at defensively, because their structure, their defense, you've seen it at its peak. 2021, you've seen it at its peak from a body type and player standpoint, and what it can do, and the pressures and the pass and the way they can get after the quarterback. But you don't just grow top 20 picks on trees, and they don't just keep funneling on the defensive line. That is, you just don't, Carter's, Wyatt's, Trayvon, Nolan Smith, those guys, you just don't have them year in, year all the time. But you do have sometimes guys like Damon Wilson, who is clearly, from a speed and ability, skill set, the best pass rusher you have, but he's also not your best run defender. So the balance of the early down, those guys playing on early downs and maybe giving up a little bit in the running game and having two true edge guys like Michael on one side and Damon Wilson on the other, or Damon Wilson on one side and Pimble on the other. Like the balance of that versus giving up the stuff in the run game, like that's something I think they're going to really need to think about, because where did actually Alabama hurt them in the SEC championship game? It was on early downs.
Yeah.
And it was oftentimes on early downs with Milroe's legs, because you didn't have Jalen Walker is another name, by the way. Like he might give up a little bit in the run game. So like I think the talent, but because you got scheme issues there. You got scheme. That's what they do is they control. They play the ultimate team defense versus what we're seeing. What we want to see is two guys just instantly winning and beating tackles off the edge.
Yeah.
And they don't do that because it doesn't function and help the ultimate team defense. So it's a thing. And I'm going to really do a lot of look at early downs versus third down and do that stuff in the offseason just to see if it's something that you could get away with a little bit, maybe sacrificing some of the run game strength for potential early down pass rush success.
So we've got here, looks like Roddy put this up on the screen because it's not my computer. It's Daniel Harris with this is such a great clip from Wolf of Wall Street. It really is.
Yes.
Daniel Harris saying, "Stop asking." And I don't know.
Is that the one where he says running it back? Like we're coming back.
Yeah, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I don't know if you can hear it or not. Let's see.
I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving.
Is it about to get very interesting from a?
Oh yeah.
I'm not fucking leaving.
Yeah. There it is. And that, my friends, is how this show becomes demonetized this week. Welcome. So if you want to send some donations to keep this show afloat, we would appreciate it, because now we have showed you that clip and it is now gone. Whoever, Warner Brothers, whoever made that, Paramount, is going to be on our ass quicker than you think.
Well,
but
at least you didn't
here,
show the Margot Robbie quote, the Margot Robbie one, right? Yeah, you could have shown that one. Yeah.
Right. We could have. But that tells you. So Daniel Harris is not leaving. What is this? Dane has pulled up something.
I
What
put
is
this one up here. This is from David Hale of ESPN. Mike Norvell implied that if FSU had lost the ACC championship game, they wouldn't have had all the opt-outs.
What?
Yes,
Hold on.
Exactly.
Mike Norvell implied that if FSU had lost the ACC championship game, they probably wouldn't have had all the opt-outs. The committee decision drove a lot of the choices not to play.
He should have lost to Louisville then. Should have tanked the game. It has been better for the program.
That kind of goes back to what Roddy was saying, though, right? With Georgia losing. Okay, I see in the background throwing your hands up. I see.
I will say, though, Norvell instantly, and maybe he did this. We have no idea. But he instantly should have went to his team as soon as he saw the playoff four and said, we are going to beat the ever-loving you-know-what out of whoever we play. I don't care. And we're going to show them that we should have been in the playoff, that you and the AP, because guess what? The AP still has, like, maybe they don't crown one, but they can vote as number one. Like, that should have been his whole deal. And it obviously wasn't.
And
how do you know that? It could have been Brent.
I mean, maybe it was, and they said peace out anyway.
Yeah.
Hold on, Eddie. Hold on, because you saw it. They showed FSU when they were not put into the Final Four, and Mike Norvell was sitting in that chair next to Jordan Travis and kind of put his head down and sat there for about 30 seconds. Now, who's to say he didn't get up and say exactly what Brent
that's a
said?
momentary reaction. I mean, come on.
But that momentary reaction is then played over and over and over again on ESPN, and your team then sees that. That's all I'm getting at.
Instead of let's go, like, all right, bring it on. Whoever's next.
Yeah, he should have. I mean, in hindsight's 2020, right? But maybe stand up right there, right after that, and been like, "Hey guys, we're not in, but we're going to."
I get the human emotion of it though, because his team literally won every game they played.
1,000%.
Can I ask you guys one last question? I'll get off here, Paul.
Oh boy,
I have an overall question. So does this game? And I am so damn proud of what Georgia did tonight. 63-3. Absolute statement. I mean, my heart is full. I love what they did. Kirby just said F you to the committee. I loved every second of it. Does this game nationally, media-wise, mean anything? Does the committee look at this and say, we made a mistake? Does the media look at this and say, they screwed up, or is it still the narrative FSU had all their players out? It doesn't mean anything. Georgia was supposed to do this. Go.
I think it's what I tweeted, that since 2017, other than Trevor Lawrence and his freak show team in 2018 and Burrow and that freak show team in 2019, Georgia and or Alabama are the two best teams in college football. Every year.
In your mind,
17,
though,
20, 21, 22. Like,
yeah, you said that, Brent. I'm talking about overall. The media, all these people, are they thinking like that? I know you are.
No, because like this is one of those years that there wasn't a right answer on the playoff. Like Michigan had an argument to be in, Washington had an argument to be in, so did Texas and Alabama and Georgia and Florida State. Two of them were going to be left out. So there wasn't a way to get this right.
Yeah.
There was just like what it is. Did they get the four best teams? No, they didn't. They did some weird hybrid of most deserving and best, and they didn't know how to differentiate that.
And James brings up a good point. I think that's, to me, what I've learned.
What, that Herbie's going to be the first one to downplay it?
Well, just the name.
Yeah.
That he controls things way more than maybe he realizes it.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, he started this talk with Florida State not being in.
Yep.
And guess what? He calls the game tomorrow or Monday.
Oh.
And then Tuesday, you're going to hear it was the most watched college football game ever. It's going to happen. And then all those guys are going to be like, we won. We're good. Like, we got it right. Yeah. And that's because that's the thing. Herb Street, like, to me, like, he wants to call the best game. Like, he knew if Florida State's at 4, he's calling a crap game. Like, and the influence, I think, is just whether he realizes it or not. I'm sure he does. It's just that's large. It's very large.
So if Alabama loses against Michigan, does that help our case nationally or not?
That would hurt Georgia's case because
I think it would hurt.
You think so?
The best thing for Georgia would be for Alabama to go win it all, and that would show you that 1 and 2 were in Atlanta.
I don't know. I mean, Brent's shaking his head no too. I don't know.
I don't know, because to me, Alabama lives on the extremes way too much with Milroe. Like, he's not efficient enough for them to just go dominate people. They might physically dominate Michigan, maybe, but he's not efficient enough to they have to just physically overpower them in the run game, to me, and defensively for that game to get out of hand.
Yeah. This comment by Chris Callahan makes a good point. It says, in the system changes next year, going to be a lot more Bama Georgia championship games going forward. As long as Nick Saban's there, yeah.
I've been workshopping like an article on all these thoughts I have about what can truly, like, if you started from scratch, like Chip Kelly's comments that day. I don't know if you saw that clip over the last week and a half or so, where he's talking about, he's like, not that I've thought about it or anything, but just how college football should be.
Yeah.
And basically giving the model for it. Like, I've thought about so many different things. And I think when you go to 12, one, it puts way more emphasis on the quarterback and the backup quarterback. But also, two, it's the teams with more talent and more depth, i.e. Alabama and Georgia, that are going to survive the issues that happen within that realm.
That's the biggest word probably for next year. Survive. It's the schedule's large.
Get there and survive.
You got to get there and survive.
To that end, too, there's going to be a reckoning coming with the value of conference championships.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They should go away completely, I think.
Probably should go away, because that's just an extra game at this point that we'll see next year.
The second is knocks Georgia
10-2. Georgia 10-2 sits at home and waits for a home game.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
That's
and
great.
Also, not to like throw any crazy conspiracies out there, but I have said this. Now, coaches obviously want to win games, but the people that, put the butts in the sands and the financials of this all would really love an extra home game that would bring in God knows how many millions of dollars.
Oh my!
So, hey, if you don't
even
win
that structure, I think is kind of screwed up, because I can make the argument it's better off to be ranked 5 through 8 than 1 through 4.
Yep.
1,000,000%. Yeah. You get a home game.
Yeah, 1 through 4 should have a home game. That's the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah, that's awful.
So yeah, you get a home game next year. I'm not saying teams are going to throw games to have a home game, but I'm also saying they're not that they're not going to either, because you get that home game. That is a big. You get Ohio State at home in the middle of December when it's 27 degrees and it's freezing snow, and you bring in Florida State. I mean, that's a huge advantage.
Sucks for Florida State too.
Yeah, so like it's a huge advantage. So, and like Indy Clip says, a home playoff game for UGA would be nuts.
It's only going to take one or two of those events where it's like, oh, look how great this is, and then they'll add more of those.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Eddie, I've got some folks waiting in the background.
I'm going to
appreciate you so much. All right, Doc, we'll see you.
Is Roddy coming back?
I'm sure he is. Yeah, and we've got Choppy back
here. Hey, Brent, Merry New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Eddie.
See you, buddy.
All right, guys.
I'll see you.
So we get the chopster.
Oh man, are you staying?
Well, I was just making sure we were getting somebody coming back.
He won't be left by himself.
Yeah, I'm scared of the dark.
West Virginia's down 4 with minute 15, so I got to see if they come back.
The real reason he's taking off.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, Georgia won by 20 points in basketball today too.
Hey, they're 10-3. 10-3. Shout out.
I've been watching a lot of basketball, and
shout out to Hoop Dogs.
Might have to do some film don't lie on basketball.
Somebody asked, we'll do a POS on basketball. We might. Why not?
Game. All right. Well, happy New Year, fellas. We'll see you later.
Yeah, happy New Year to you too, brother. All right, we really want to put ourselves through this, Roddy, for the last bit of the show.
Yeah, we got to.
I guess we do.
It's like lancing a boil, I guess.
Yeah. There he is.
I'm not muted.
No, you're not.
I'm not muted this time. I always do it because I don't know if something's going to be going on in the background when you bring me on.
Well, so for somehow when I started the show, you weren't here. You would have made fun of me. My mic got unplugged and I was muted for like a minute right with the beginning of the show. And I'm telling Jason, I'm like, talk. And Jason's just sitting there, dude. And I was like, man, somebody's got to talk. So I'm glad you weren't here to make fun of me, but you would have probably stepped up and said something.
I probably would have noticed. Sometimes we watch Jason, you're just sitting there like, I don't think he knows what's going on.
He wasn't watching me. He wasn't watching me. Choppy, what's up, man?
That game was I'll say this. That win was basically for recruiting, because after all the battles you have with FSU, no matter what the optics are, because Georgia could say we had this many players transfer. I think I think it was Roddy. It might have been you that posted, like they have more than 15 guys who transferred out. And then
Georgia
you had all
had
those
18
injuries.
scholarship guys, 23 more non-scholarship guys, but 3 of those scholarship guys or non-scholarship guys were actually guys who have played a lot. Jackson Meeks, Makai Muse, guys who actually contribute to your football team. So you had 21 players opt out, and that was my point when I came on. Was everyone's complaining about the FSU opt-outs, but they conflate opting out and being in the transfer portal as the same thing. To me, that's not the same thing. But if you want to do that, fine. Georgia had 21 opt-outs in the transfer portal, and they had 5 opt-outs because they couldn't play because they were injured. So you were down 26 players, and you still set the record for the largest margin of victory ever. But the narrative is Georgia was playing at full strength with a bunch of 5-star first-round draft picks, and FSU was starting their equipment team and cheerleaders. So, give me a break.
Yeah, so that's the first thing where I'm just like, I understand Florida State had a lot of people out. And I understand they were out, man, but Georgia had so many people out too. So I don't get that. Every game there's opt-outs on both sides now. It's very rare you see one team with just everybody playing the other side not.
Shoot, you don't even have teams in the college football playoff that don't have opt-outs or transfers already. Texas doesn't have their backup quarterback.
Like Texas, yeah, like with Murphy. And also, did you see the image of Arch Manning with the media?
Yeah.
With Quinn Ewers, that was pretty funny. But back on the game, I mean, outside that one deep pass, which it was perfect coverage with Daniel Harris on it, they had nothing all day. They couldn't do anything. It was just like you look and you say, there's some wildcat the whole game. Whenever I see a team use the wildcat formation like 10 or more times and look like a one of those Army Navy triple option teams, I'm like, yeah, they're dead. They just know they're dead. I remember, I think it was the second drive of the game. They ran the ball 3 straight times up the middle. They got nothing. I'm like, they know they're dead.
Yeah.
They just walked in there. They're like, nah, we're over. But I thought for the future, you have a quarterback next year. Like they brought up on the broadcast the Brett Thorson things who cracks me up with his reaction to Trevor Etienne. You have your star running back next year. I assume Lovett's probably going to come back. Your tight end, Spurlin, that one play. Spurlin looks athletic to me. He looks like his ceiling is
One of the best receivers I've seen, man.
I'm not out on Oscar Delp by any means, but I think in terms of ceiling, I think he's the highest ceiling of any of the tight ends in that room. I just do. I just think he's a freak athlete, and he's huge. He looks like
Loss of Lucky is going to be your top tight end. Yeah. He's the closest thing you have to Brock Bowers.
Yeah. He is, because he can block too.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I say that.
Nothing on Oscar Delp. He's going to be experienced. He's going to get touches, but you have tight ends that you trust. I just look at this. Always you look at the bowl games like this, looking at next year. They're going to be very good next year. Now, I don't know what Javon Bullard or some of those guys are going to stay or go. I don't know all that, but I just think next year they're going to be much better, in my opinion, than this year. Just because you have an experienced quarterback coming back. And Monroe Freeling, I told you this, my last point. Paul, before the year, I told you the most important freshman in this class, not to this season, was going to be Monroe Freeling. Remember, I told you that because I said he, by year 2, is likely going to have to start. And if he's a bookend tackle, every tackle for Georgia, for the most part, has been a first, second round or NFL starting caliber guy. Like Jamari Sawyer is starting in the NFL. I know he was a late round pick, even though a lot of people project him at guard. And McClendon. The other guys were high-end guys, Isaiah Wilson, Andrew Thomas, Isaiah Wynn. So when you're a tackle at Georgia, the expectations are crazy high. Because that's what, to me, the difference between Kirby Smart, Mark Richt has been the offensive line. First off, the offensive line depth, but 2, the level of player on the O-line. And that's the thing where next year I'm looking and saying, when Amari Smith went out of that game against Alabama, that was the biggest game changer to me, because they looked like they were scared to run the ball to the right side when he was out. And you need that guy next year on the right side to man that side down. And Monroe Freeling impressed me, and that's a great sign for next year.
You speak truth.
You're dead on that. I think they want him to be a little meaner.
Yeah,
they need Freeling to be a little meaner out there.
He was leading the yoga class yesterday. Investigative journalism by Jed May.
Yeah, well, a little less smooth chakras, a little more murderous intent out there. But
right,
you're right, and they're bringing in 6 offensive linemen, some real big heavy hitters there. If you get Tate Ratledge coming back, think about this: you're going to have Jared Wilson starting at center, and Monroe Freeling more than likely starting a right tackle. Two new guys.
Yeah, you
what
need
if you have to play a new right guard? But if you have a guy that's basically played the last 2 years out there at right guard, and he'd be like, okay, on this on this twist, on this stunt, he could be huge at anchoring that whole right side. And you noticed tonight, they ran off his tailbone a couple times, behind big Tate Ratledge. I know he got banged up a little bit and came out, but hopefully he's fine. But that's huge. ETN, like, okay, where am I going to run? Oh, look, I'm going to run over here behind this big monster. And again, on the left side, you have Micah Morris
and Fairchild, both of those guys.
Dylan Fairchild, and here's now I could see a situation where one of those guys is like, man, there's not a lot of playing time here. I am a bone-in starter,
Yeah.
So you could see one of those guys maybe. Again, just saying Georgia's running into the problem where you got too many good players. And that's why you saw guys hit the portal. Some really good players. Like, look, we're loaded at my spot. That's why I said I could see a running back leave, because they're like, look, 7, that's a bit much. So even though Georgia does its best to get everybody the ball and to get as much rotation as possible, if there's you could definitely see somebody transferring at some different spots where you think you're safe. It happens, but I mean, next year if you got Trevor Etienne running behind the big Ernest Green and Micah Morris or Dylan Fairchild on the left side, yeah, you give it to them. So to your point, yeah, I don't say it could be better next year. It's tough with the schedule.
I think a lot of teams are going to be worse, though.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, very true. I mean, that your middle linebackers are going to be
the one thing before we do that. William Carlin with a $9.99 donation. That's my that's pretty much my dad right there. He helped raise me up in Monroe, so appreciate him over there. And
you raised Pinky?
Yeah, he did. He was officiating in my wedding too. The one thing I think that Kirby can sell, so you were talking about Micah Morris, Fairchild, both of them being, bona fide starters, basically. And I agree with you 100%. They could, either one of those guys could transfer to any team in the nation and probably start. Next year's schedule, though, is so grueling that you have to really sell to these guys, hey, you might not start, but I promise you playing time, because There's going to be guys that get banged up, and hopefully no big injuries, but you're the next guy up. And even if there aren't any big injuries, we're still going to need you. We're going to need depth. And that's probably the biggest selling point if you're trying to be an elite recruiter is, hey, you come in as a true freshman and you're second or third on the depth chart, you're probably going to see the field because we're going to need you. So you're going to have to – you're just selling the mentality of, hey, yeah, you might not be a starter, but I promise you're going to get some playing time because we're going up against, top teams every week. We've got 2 cupcakes, maybe
top 5 teams.
Yeah, we've got 2 cupcakes maybe next year, and then after that, every game is, bend don't break, and we're going to need you. So that's how you sell that to a guy like Micah Morris, a guy like Dylan Fairchild. Hey, you might not be the starter, but I promise you're going to play. And they did a really good job of it this year with getting all those guys in rotation. Xavier Truss was in there. At times, you had a rotation of Morris, Fairchild. The offensive line looked different almost every drive, and it didn't affect them. And so, I think that was pretty big. So,
well, I don't just say this because I follow the Ravens, but Todd Monken went there, and I know they're now starting to do an O-line shift because they know some of their tackles get hurt. They rotate. I think that's more of a common thing now. Of rotate linemen because they get hurt. Let's play them less.
It's the only position in college football in the NFL that 5 guys play almost every snap. The guy doesn't come out and doesn't, especially in college. Defensive ends, defensive line, they get rotated every other play. You still got the same offensive lineman in there. You rotate the offensive lineman, they're just as fresh. And
look at the your third down packages when you bring in like 3 freshmen. You got 2 stand-up guys, 1 zero technique, and you're like, what the hell's going on here? So, I guess you don't change the secondary. Usually you have the same 2 safeties and the same 2 cornerbacks, but even then, that's when you're really, really rolling well. Yeah, and you might go nickel or dime. Georgia does a lot of nickel stuff, but only when the game gets out of hand do you take out. If you look at the snap count, you go look at Kamari Lasser, Dalen Everett's like 100% of the snaps, 100% of the snaps. Malachi Starks, 100% of the snaps. It's like, oh, hey, look, Dan Jackson got in, and they took for like 3 snaps, and
but what I'm saying
the
is
other safety got 97% of the Javon Bullard only got 97% of the snaps. It's just
but that offensive line is having to stay in there for 100% of snaps against defensive line guys who are in there for 33% of snaps. Right. So rotating it, I think it worked out great for them this year.
And Paul, I think you brought up the schedule. That was going to be my second point. Beyond that, it's just going to be the new norm. When you play just 15 snaps, but it's against Walter Nolan at Ole Miss or against the Bama D lineman or Texas, they said their D line was pretty good this year. I didn't follow them too heavily. But if you play them on the road for just 15 snaps and you're impressive in that, the NFL is going to look at the film. Even though the sample size is smaller than your typical offensive lineman who played every snap, this guy's film is dominant versus very good competition compared to these other guys who played full snaps. So maybe we have more to work with, and maybe he has more room to grow, and maybe he has less tread on his tires because he has less probability of getting hurt. So I agree with you there because I think that could be valuable. So I think there's a world where they both stay or one of them goes.
Yeah. Apparently my thread on the board is getting I mentioned on the dog vent, I didn't realize up to 4 pages now, getting ripped for kind of mentioning that you could have some guys go into the portal. And again, it's I think just like last year, a lot of guys did not announce till after the final game. Now, Georgia announced they had 21 guys said they were going in the portal. I think that was including Daniel Harris, who now apparently is not going into the portal. So let's say 17 starters. But I could definitely see a few more actually jump into the portal here. But to your point, I know folks don't like the portal, but let's say you lose a few more. You have to have faith in Kirby Smart to replace them with better players. So, yes, you lost, let's say 17 scholarship guys. How many of those guys were starters? 1. How many of those guys were in the 2 deep? What, 3?
3, 4, yeah.
So let's roughly 12 players who are not in the 2 deep. Do you think Kirby's going to replace them with 12 players who won't make the 2 deep?
Probably not, no.
I'm just saying you brought in the number 1 class by a huge margin. Now you're in on was it
Harry Busey?
Yeah. The number 1 athlete in the nation. You flipped KJ Holden. You know, we're talking about who players that might stand out. You know, I saw somebody in the comments say KJ Bold might be, you know, play against Clemson. Yes. If you give Kirby Smart an opening, he's going to try to upgrade it. There's not a better coach in college football. You can say what he wants about, you know, play calling and who he hires as coaches, although his coaching tree is pretty badass. No one does a better job of building rosters than Kirby Smart.
Oh, yeah.
You look at the fact that they've won 46 of their last 48 games. They went 13-1 this year, lost by 3 points. And it was mainly because you had Amaris Mims go out and you had two of your best players who were injured. This was the most injured team I've covered in 30 years of Georgia football. And they only lost one game, and they barely lost that game. Give Kirby, as much as we can complain about NIL and the transfer portal, all you're doing is giving Kirby Smart more tools to improve his team. Because now, got a kid that's not going to work out. Hey, Nyland Green, it's not really working here. You can go play somewhere else. It's really good playing time. You can definitely start somewhere else. You just can't start here. But I'm going to bring in, you know, the number one cornerback, the number one safety, and the number one athlete into this class. So,
and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, Roddy, but you've got to get under 85 scholarships, or you got to get to 85. And if you go tally who's in Athens plus the class they just brought in, you are above that number. So
you have to have this.
You have to.
Even though 1 year, I think it looked like they were over the number. I don't know.
That is fair. That's a good point, because when Georgia lists new signees, not every one of those is a scholarship signee.
Yeah,
some of those are gray shirts who are coming in on their own dime, and they will get a scholarship when one opens up. Some of those guys are getting such a good NIL deal, it basically pays for their schooling. They don't have to be on scholarship.
I think, though, there's like they're over 6, 7, or 8 right now. That's a lot. Yeah. So we'll see.
To me, again, if you have 10 guys go in the portal, which I said maybe from 5 to 10, it would not shock me. Now, hey, maybe there's nobody. That would be great, you know, and you got them all. And maybe you got guys, you know, because remember, you can have 85 scholarships, but you can have 120 more preferred walk-ons. Maybe some of the guys you have coming in are preferred walk-ons who are getting a huge NIL deal, and that pays for their school. You know, great. But it, again, would not shock me.
Because Ellis Robinson might be day one starter, and it's like you might have a day one 3-year starter coming in.
Yeah,
that's the type of guys you're bringing into your program.
Yeah, I mean, let's say Rod Robinson, he had a great night tonight. He goes in the portal, or Andrew Paul. It would suck to lose those guys. But you're bringing Trevor Etienne in, proven commodity. I'll take that.
Also, Julian Humphrey just announced he's coming back.
Nice. Did he put it on Twitter or Facebook or something?
Yeah, where'd you see that?
He said, "Let's run it, go Dogs," and he did the Wolf of Wall Street.
He did it too.
Yeah, he's the same one as
him. Yeah, come on, guys, get creative.
Where is it? Is it on Twitter?
Yeah.
I'm behind on. I don't see it.
It's _ Julian 12K.
Come on, man, you gotta have the job. Hey, while you're looking that up, I do want to mention something real quickly. So, okay, Julian Humphrey coming back is big. What's also big is our friends at the Rogue Shop. This show is sponsored by the Rogue Shop. I recently got their the Rogue Wonder, the Delta 9 THC chocolates.
Nice.
So if you like chocolate, they got them. Then I got the Nerd Bites too, the 60 milligram THC Delta 9s as well.
Hey, eat half of that, boss.
I know. Well, here's the thing, and of course, they also sent me the 250 milligram.
250.
Yeah, this will kill you. So when you order from the Rogue Shop, they will send you this note, this red note. And it says, have you ever used cannabis-infused edibles? Here are some simple tips to ensure a great first experience. Cut the gummy into 4 equal pieces.
Yeah.
Eat 1/4 piece and wait for a minimum of 2 hours to see how it affects you. So don't do it and like 15 minutes later, like, this thing affected me, and you knock down the other 3 pieces. You got to work yourself into it. Gummies affect everyone differently. Take it slow until you find your sweet spot. Check out the Rogue Shop for more comments. Again, this is It's a family-owned and operated company. When you order, people say, well, can I get that in Georgia? Yes, and they will actually send you all in the box, all the data and rules that show you're allowed to order this in the state of Georgia. So shout out to our friends at the Rogue Shop for taking good care of us. And yeah, I'm loaded. They sent me like 6 bottles of this stuff. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna have to have a UGA sports get together, and it's going. Maybe we'll do it in Vegas again.
Hey,
did you find it?
I found it. Yeah, pull it up. Got it right here. Let's run it.
There it is.
Yep, he's did the same exact. We're not gonna do it again, but yeah, we know what he says. So,
but no, that's a good one that he's coming back. He really thought about it. We broke the news that he and Michael Williams were both looking at the portal. Not a shocker, but getting him back, gigantic. Again, that he was injured. He didn't play tonight, but that is a guy who, I mean, nothing against Daniel Harris, but I think if Julian Humphrey had been cleared, and again, we said Kamari Lassiter wouldn't. I said Kamari Lassiter wouldn't play in this game. He did come out and actually play. I guess the first quarter. So he came out and did his curtain call. He didn't play the whole game. You could say he opted out about after the third or fourth drive. He was done. But that was a guy, and that good for him. He did not need to risk an injury. That is a top pick. So.
Somebody just asked, did Stetson's brother get a catch tonight? And it looks like he did. Yeah, he caught
the last play of the game, or last active play.
No, it wasn't. It was 3 minutes left. So it was this first pass from Colin Drake, or the only pass for Colin Drake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but there weren't a ton of plays after that.
It says 3:08 left. I think they had a couple more after that. I think they had the run, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought it was towards the end there, because I thought that was like the last thing they did, and then they took a knee there. I'm not Mike Honcho. I'm not gassed up yet.
Who's the other walk-on quarterback other than Muschamp who got in?
Colin Drake, baby.
Yeah.
So Georgia went to its 5th string quarterback.
Crazy.
And he completed a pass.
Yeah. Do you know how bad the doing the grades tomorrow is going to be, Roddy? Just so you know.
Oh my God, yeah.
There's like 90. I don't know how many guys played. It felt like 90. It's going to take 6 hours to write all those up.
Oh, Paul, just the amount of people who have a rushing attempt.
Yeah. Oh, I know, brother.
Look
I know.
at this right now.
I kept seeing him throw them in there.
10 people with a rush attempt.
I know, dude. I just kept seeing him throwing there. I was just like, you know what? It's the last one of the year. So I just had to keep telling myself, because it's gonna be fun tomorrow. There's gonna be so many guys with grades, and there's gonna be
11 with a receiving with a catch.
Yeah. I know. It's gonna be bad. Hey, let's hand out some.
Drew Bobo got in.
Drew snapped it.
Lindbergh got in there.
Snapped
it. America's offensive tackle, Drew Bobo.
Let's
he laid a guy out.
It's the last show of the season of the year. It's time. We can empty the piggy bank, Roddy, for some helmet stickers, for some dog bones. Yeah. It's the last one. It's the last show.
We'll just go around. We'll go around.
Or are we doing this game only?
This game only.
This game only, and
this game only. Go ahead, Ben. First dibs.
First, if I got to go Kendall Milton, because they couldn't tackle him.
Good pick.
They just couldn't tackle him.
I like that.
His first run was like, "Hey, F all you guys."
Yeah.
I'll go 2 offense, 2 defense. That's all I'm going to do.
Do what you want. The budget's open.
Second, I'm going to go Gunnar Stockton, because the way he runs, not even just the throwing, the way he runs. He runs like he wants to kill the linebacker. He runs like, I'm going to run through a damn linebacker. Like, and I respect that. There are people in the NFL like Josh Allen who do that. I know in the long term, some people aren't going to like it. He runs with force out there. And also the creativity on the one pass to Edwards, the jump pass. I love that. I just think Stockton impressed me tonight. I know some people are going to be kind of picky about him, but I thought he played great.
Have you seen on the back of his truck?
No.
He's got one of them ain't scared stickers.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
nice.
And then on defense, I'll start with Mike Hell. Mike Hell had that one time where I thought he broke. I thought Florida State's quarterback was not going to come back in the game after that. He just looked like he got broken down. So Mike Hell for that play alone. And then the other one I'll go on defense because I just know Roddy's going to say him because this is Roddy's guy. What? Gabe Harris for that strip. That was one of the nicest defensive plays all year. I just had to take him so Roddy didn't have it. That strip he had at the end, that fumble. I don't think they recovered. I think Florida State recovered it, but that to me was as good of a defensive play I've seen all year. So I'm going to go Gabe Harris. Those are my 4. I'm going to let you guys have the floor for the other ones.
Go ahead, Roddy.
I got to go Carson Beck. 72%, 13 of 18, 203 yards, 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. So he was on track to have a 400-yard game. They pull him at halftime, set him down. Hey, 13 of 18 is good. 72% completion rate. With that, Carson Beck sets the single season completion percentage record at the University of Georgia that was set last year.
Damn.
By Stetson Bennett.
Damn.
So he comes up the dude sets he waits 3 years, gets his shot, and to be fair, he said it before tonight. As Dave McMahon pointed out, he could have gone 0 for 24 and still set the single season completion record. But he didn't. He went 72%, which is right at where the record is. So Carson Beck, got to give him credit for being the most accurate passer over the course of a single season in Georgia football history. 100 plus years playing football, Carson Beck was the most accurate to ever do it over the course of one season. So big shout out to him. Looking for my I was going to take Stockton's running. I'm with you there. He was pretty good. But I want to go Roderick Robinson. 7 carries, 70 yards. I'm no math genius. I did get my degree from the University of Georgia. In the journalism school, they didn't make you take a whole lot of math. That's 10 yards a carry.
It is. He
gets in there in the third quarter and just humiliates people and just ran hard, just running people over. I thought it was brilliant. And I'm going to go offensively, Muschamp.
Who?
Jackson Muschamp. Did you see that run he had? 14 yards, hitting people. His dad gets tackled on the sideline because everybody's so damn happy. You know,
he had more yards than Branson Robinson this year. Impressive.
That's such a dick thing to say. The dude tore his patellar tendon.
I mean, by saying it's facts. I mean, I wish the best for Branson, but statistical fact.
Jeez.
I mean, I could touch on Ladd McConkey and his 22 yards receiving and then his long touchdown run. I thought that was pretty good. He had the 27-yard touch, but you got to go Dylan Bell. Come on, man.
Yeah.
2 circus catches. He had 5 catches, 86 yards. And they didn't even give him a TD. You got to put him back in there, let the man score a touchdown. Come on. Killing me here. But Dylan Bell, again, I thought on that first touchdown, he didn't get his head, or first pass to him, he didn't get his head around. I tweeted something out about, because right before that, Arian Smith had dropped one, that little screen that hit him in the hands. And then the pass comes to him, and apparently it was a bad pass. I thought he just didn't get his head turned around. But then his other 5 catches were just insane. The one-handed one down the sideline, magnificent. So I love the fact that you could have a Dylan Bell, Carson Beck reunion next year. I know Lovett had 3 catches, but got to give a tip to Dylan Bell. I'll stop on offense. You can take over now.
Please. Damn. I mean, I'm going with
Cedric. As many as you want.
Yeah, but let me at least get it. What you're doing though is you've gone to the buffet table and you've scooped out.
I don't know which voice is closer to Paul's voice.
He scooped out all the food and then is now letting me go.
Out the
food. So on offense, Cedric Van Pran, he almost killed a man tonight. And just overall, him coming back was pretty big, and I know we didn't say throughout the whole season, but this game kind of was accumulation of his whole season and led from the front. Cedric Van Pran. I'll also go Micah Morris. He just looked like a different type of animal out there. They put him at fullback and was crazy. Yeah, these guys are killing me in the chat now. Appreciate that, Roddy.
Well, James thinks Roddy's on the gummies.
Yeah, he probably is.
I haven't cut him up, but we're about to get there.
On defense, this guy got a lot of flack, and he got some from me, and he got some from just about everybody.
Oh,
Dalen Everett with the interception.
Yep.
He needed that. Because confidence, I feel like, might have been dwindling in him, in himself, whatever it may be. There was within the fan base, confidence was dwindling in Dalen Everett. He gets the interception. Hopefully that can then catapult him back into the good graces of Georgia fans. So congrats to Everett on the interception.
More interceptions than Lassiter this year.
Yeah. And let's see. On defense, CJ Allen. We talked about him earlier, taking over for JDJ, doing it as a freshman. He looked bigger in this game than the last game. I don't know if it was the neck roll that he had on, but he just looked jacked. And he is going to be a staple for the next 2 years, because I guarantee you're not getting 3 out of him. He's going to the league. 2 more years in that middle of that Georgia defense. Absolute beast.
Hey, I want to give him credit for the pass breakup he had.
Yes.
Once he was in coverage, he and Raylan Wilson on the third down, they were both in coverage. He broke up a pass. I don't know if it was on that play or not, but there was one where, it was a good pass breakup by him. But to see both those guys dropping into coverage, that's tough, man. If you're a freshman linebacker and you're coming into play D1 football, the hardest part is knowing, think about it, you probably never had to drop into coverage your whole damn life. Now those guys are having to do it. So he and Raylan Wilson were big. I'll give one going back to defense. Jalen Walker.
Yeah.
4 tackles. The man was everywhere, just getting better. I'm glad you said Mykel Williams. I thought if they'd had a offensive or defensive, defensive award, Mykel Williams should have got it. I'm glad you picked Everett, because I've been defending Everett all year, just because that you don't want to throw at Kamari Lassiter. You don't want to throw at Tyke Smith. You damn sure don't want to throw at Malachi Starks over somebody. And if you want your wide receiver to get killed, you make sure you don't throw near Javon Bullard. So everyone picks on Dalen Everett. And people only remember the passes that are completed against him. They don't look at the ones that he knocked down. So it becomes kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, or bias confirmation. There he is getting beat again. It's like, well, yeah, that's the guy you're going to pick on because he's the best option of the ones that are out there. Then all of a sudden, when there's a bunch of new guys out there and he's the veteran, nobody's throwing his way and he gets an INT. So I thought that was big on his part. But you got to give it to my big boy. I know he's in the Warren Brinson. Pass breakup, Brinson. 4 tackles. I thought Brinson played one of his best games. And again, just showed that Brock's not the quarterback's not tall enough. He had 3 passes knocked down?
Yeah. Peyton Woodring, 9 for 9.
Yep. Hey, and Thorson was good on his punt. Real quick on Thorson, bored out of his mind over there, doesn't get his thing. How the hell does the Georgia football team play 14 games and not give up 1 punt return yard?
Crazy. Insanity.
Mind-boggling. Now, granted, Georgia didn't punt a whole lot, but when they did, you got to think that somebody would be able to get a punt return yard. I need to go back and look and see which coaches are in charge of that, because each coach has one phase of the game that they're in charge of. Whoever's picking the gunners and the hang time and the direction of the punt and all that, the fact that you went the entire season without giving up a punt return. I want to give a helmet sticker to Thorson for putting the punts, giving such good hang time and direction that nobody could return them. The gunners for getting down there and stopping it. And whatever coach is in charge of that squad, I know he's not wearing a helmet, but get him one and he can put it on his desk, because that is just phenomenal.
We'll just say it was Muschamp, and he gets the sticker for his reaction to his son doing the thing.
Hey, trying to think of who's the backup punter?
Well, it's going to be Drew Miller.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of who the current one
I don't know
was.
why a punter would want to. Brett Thorson brings up good points in his jokes.
Well, I mean,
why would the top
you
rated
can't
punter
name the
want to go to
backup because
I also saw where it said Brett Thorson is a sophomore on the ESPN graphic tonight. Is he a sophomore?
I have no idea what his age is.
I mean, he's like his age is
We-
like
we don't have
28.
those
I feel like
documents.
he's like 26, 28, something like that.
Here's the thing about him. We reported this before the season started. This might have been his only year because they started his clock, his NCAA clock, when you start college, and he started in Australia. So either had a year or two there before he came to Georgia. So they actually had to basically file an appeal, basically to say, "Hey, can he play again next year?" And Georgia found out a few weeks ago, and we reported that news as well, that yes, he has been granted eligibility for next year too. So it could have been a situation where this was his last year. So
yeah, they have him listed on Georgia Dogs as a sophomore. He is a sophomore. Do you know? Real quick before, because we're gonna
he's got 2 years here, but that in the eyes of the NCAA, that ain't true.
Do you know how these guys from this Pro Kick Australia get matched up? They don't pick their team they're going to. Nope. They just get matched up to a team based on the style of kick that they do. And Brett Thorson is with Georgia because of the style of the kick that he does. And it's all this crazy stuff. He didn't get to pick there. I think I did a college game day special on it. And these guys, they don't get to pick which school they go to. So Brett Thorson, he's not going anywhere. His jokes on Twitter are just that, jokes. So
I mean,
funny.
It's serious. I mean,
thank you, James Caraway.
Yeah, thank you so much,
I mean,
James.
what the team's doing to Brett Thorson, I don't know why he's not in the portal. He's being underutilized.
But what I'm getting at here, Ben, is I don't know if he can go in the portal because like he got sent to Georgia. I don't think he can go anywhere else. He's got to go back and ask the home country of Australia if he can go to a different school.
We still don't know this guy's age. He could be like 34. He could be 21.
He could. Who knows?
I mean,
James with the $5 donation says
asking about where's the link to the portal. It's too funny.
Helmet sticker to y'all. Love talking ball with y'all after every game this season. Best YouTube channel going. We appreciate that so much. So, guys,
a lot of people ask about Michael Williams. I mean, everyone's saying though he's reporting that he's back. Has he left? I mean, he's not been in the portal yet.
Yeah, I don't know.
Crazy. He has another year. He's supposed to come back. He did think about it. I know that for a fact. You know, there's times that, and we did a huge story on him earlier in the week talking about how he's going to be used differently because he wasn't happy with how he's being used, and Georgia wants to use him differently, but sometimes it's based on need. So I think we saw a preview a little bit of that tonight. He didn't move too much, but you see what a difference maker he is, and Georgia's going to do everything they can to keep him and make sure he's happy. But I don't think that it's we write a story if he was going into the portal. If the status quo remains the status quo, then why do you write a story that nothing's changed? I don't know. Well, I guess if you want a bunch of clicks, then you would.
Damn, Roddy.
What? I'm just saying.
All right. Well, with that being said, any last final thoughts here before we close this thing out for this season?
Yeah, I want to share what the rest of the community or rest of the college football was thinking about it real quick. Let me bring it up on screen here. Oh, did I get dropped off?
No, you're here.
Okay. Yeah, all of a sudden my screen went blank. Clay Travis says the College Football Playoff Committee didn't screw Florida State. They screwed Georgia. There's no way on earth Georgia is one of the 4 best college football teams in America.
Interesting.
There's Clay Travis. Yeah. Benjamin Watson says every game's matter. Well, it should. Clearly it matters for some of us, not others. Secondly, we were beaten by a good team. Adversity reveals characters. Them dogs have plenty. Him fighting with Danny Cannell. Gotta love a Ben Watson, Danny Cannell fight. You know, that's pretty good. Michael Harris says no way UGA should have been left out. Transfer portal says Florida's. Yeah, I know, but people seen my stuff. I did point out that Georgia scored 21 points with its third string QB when everybody was complaining about Florida State. Oh my God, they're down their third string QB. Yeah, but Georgia has one too, and he dropped 21 on you.
FSU's lawsuit is entered the portal.
Yeah, that was a good one. Gotta love their lawsuit. College Football Home says Georgia's playing with all their backups, third string walk-ons, are still dominating. Yes, they did. Will Compton says Florida State showing why they had no business in the playoff.
Will Compton might recruit Ladd McConkey to the all-white team.
Yeah, they need a wide receiver.
Brett Thorson, that's a team that he could be utilized for. There you go.
Maybe put him out there at corner. TCU says this is from our own Anthony Dashard. TCU, we lost to Georgia 65-7. Florida State, hold our beer.
Jeez.
And they lost worse. So TCU, everybody was clowning TCU for losing by 58. Florida State lost by 60. Here's a great tweet from TJ Mo. It says FSU had two options: play hard, beat Georgia, go undefeated, and prove the college football committee and everyone else got it wrong, or quit, get embarrassed so there isn't 1 ounce of sympathy for them anymore. They chose the latter. The performance was shameful.
Damn.
Yep.
Damn.
Largest Georgia football puts out a tweet: largest margin of victory in bowl game history. Yeah, 60 was it. Again, here's Warren Brinson. He went live during the game. Remember last year they got a bunch of grief for eating wings on the sideline?
Oh, yeah. Kendall Milton brought the wings to all the offensive linemen.
Yeah, I actually tweeted out midway through the game that they were looking for hot wings.
After putting that IG live out, Warren Brinson is going to wish he went to the NFL and not come back. Kirby's going to run that man to death.
Yeah. Dash pointed out they were still doing the chop at Hard Rock Stadium, but it was Georgia fans trolling FSU fans.
Jeez.
Man, that's just brutal.
It was just Braves fans there.
Yeah.
Largest loss in program history? Ooh. Eek.
That's not good. Yeah, I did not realize that 60-point.
No matter what the optics are, you don't think for a second when FSU tries to come into Georgia and get kids that stuff like that's not going to be brought up.
Oh, 1,000%.
What went through KJ Bolden's head today?
I made the right choice.
KJ Bolden looks like the biggest genius in the world. He's the biggest winner. I mean, if anyone's, he didn't even play in the game. Give him the biggest helmet sticker.
Hey, what went through Marvin Jones? What went through Marvin Jones Jr. head?
Oh yeah, it's like, oh, maybe I made a bad. Hey, I love this by Marvin James. He's a great TV guy. He says there are lists on both sides. Here are Georgia's players not playing in the Orange Bowl, and he mentioned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 injured players who were not playing, and then he mentions he's got a list of like 17 transfer players who are not playing. You know, Georgia would like to have gone to their second string quarterback, but Brock Vandegrift is already at Kentucky. Austin Blaskey could have gotten in there and killed some people on offensive line, but
Jonathan Jefferson could have got a sack.
Yeah, Mekhi Muse could have returned a kick there too. Xavier Sori could have got some. So yeah. Anyway, John Tweet Sports, he's really good. Says Georgia's now rotating walk-ons and scout team players in at QB. They were.
That was crazy.
I mean, Colin Drake. How many people do you? Not how many. What percentage of people could have named Georgia's 4th and 5th string QBs?
Nobody.
You got 0%?
1, maybe.
I didn't know who the Drake. I knew Muschamp because he was Muschamp's son. That's about it.
I knew Muschamp. I had seen Colin Drake's name on there. I would not have pointed about in a million years. Hell, I didn't even know. I didn't know what number it was.
I knew Drake. I didn't know his first name. And like Roddy said,
you're 50-50. You're like
I couldn't have picked him out in a lineup had you lined him up with 7 different guys. No.
The only reason I would have known him was because like with the depth chart that they give you in spring or something, and you're going down it and you're reading the names. I probably read the names, just went right past it.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, so oh yeah, but you think scout team QB Kirby likes to run his stuff over there. So,
have you guys showed what Danny Cannell's been saying?
There were just responses to Danny Cannell.
Yeah, there's no reason to give him a bigger platform than he's already gotten. He's dug himself quite a hole.
If Florida State went to the SEC, I just think it would be so funny just because he would literally have to be wearing like SEC hats anytime he was on like any show.
Right.
Then he would turn into the biggest SEC fan.
Right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I like this one. Do you think Marvin Jones wish he could come back? That one was a shocker. So, Andrew's got a good point here. Says, let's keep it in perspective. FSU is a Power 5 conference champ. They have 15 recruits less. This was not against Charleston. This was a team that had won 19 games in a row.
Yeah.
They didn't get to 20, and they suffered their worst loss in program history. Anyway, so again,
Georgia looked better versus them than UAB. It's true.
Yeah, you're right. So,
I mean, I think Florida State's backup should be able to beat UAB.
Who knows?
Do you have a list of players that are returning right now? Just assume everybody that you saw out there. But again, I think you're talking about the more the bigger names. I expect Tate Radlish to. Has Tate ever gone public and said that?
No,
I don't think so.
He might just come back and not say anything.
Yeah. So Tate Radlish
he
coming
hosts
back.
that podcast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in love with the podcast.
Although
He'll
Kirby shut
probably
that
just say
down.
something on there.
Kirby shut the podcast down for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, after the Tennessee comments.
Damn.
Anyway, he's coming back. Warren Brinson's coming back. Nazir Stackhouse is supposedly coming back. You see Julian Humphreys isn't transferring. Michael Williams isn't transferring. Again, although both thought about it, neither has done so. So that's huge. Carson Beck is coming back. Ladd McConkey is going pro. Brock Bowers is going pro. Kamari Lasser is going pro. Javon Bullard, nobody knows. Or at least nobody I've talked to knows. If I did,
It seems like it goes either way depending on who you talk to.
I think he goes back and forth. So
Yeah, he probably does. He said he hasn't made a decision legitimately, so
yeah,
he's probably the big one.
That is my pet peeve. I'll get on my soapbox real quick. Where's this kid going to go to college? Well, he hasn't decided yet. Yeah, but where's he going to go? Where do you think? He has not decided yet. If a decision is in, then we can give you a speculation of what we think that decision is. But if the kid's undecided, then now you're just guessing. So why
Look at
would I
Cedric Van
guess?
Pran last year.
Yeah. So, Starks isn't leaving. Yeah, well, he can't. Malachi has to play another year. So this one.
I doubt
any
in
other
a
big
million
names.
years he'd leave the portal for the portal. I doubt in a million years.
Okay, so yeah, Dash is Matthew Cotton's actually reading our website, which is probably a good idea. You should actually read the stuff on UGA.com.
Yeah.
Tate claims he's not even thought about it. Sure. Nazir Stackhouse says he has, and we'll have an answer by Wednesday. Okay. So I can see Kirby telling these guys to hold off on your announcements, and then let's run them all together. Remember how they did that in the past when you had one guy after another after another? Lorenzo Carter, Davin Bellamy, Sony Michel, Nick Chubb, and it was very well choreographed and looked good and got everybody hyped up. I could definitely see them doing that. Or hell, some of these guys would be like, yeah, that's a great game. I'm gonna go to the NFL. Nothing would shock me, but I'm just giving you what I've heard and what I think. So I like Christopher Black's comment there. The dogs broke TCU.
I broke FSU.
I think that's a good one to end on there.
It is. Hey guys, before we leave out, make sure to hit that like button. We appreciate it so much.
Oh, one last thing. I'm just kidding.
Well, we do need to call it the fact that so this is our last post-game overreaction show, but you guys do a show every Sunday night.
Yeah, we do. So we do a show every Sunday night called the All Things Georgia Show. It's with myself, Eddie from Ackworth, and Andy Stowe. So you won't be missing me for too long. We won't be on tomorrow night, obviously, for New Year's Eve, but the week after. Week after we'll be on. We'll be talking about the Braves getting Chris Sale and multiple new things. So, guys, everything that we've talked about with you all season long, we appreciate you so much for hanging out with us. Jermaine says we're missing one more super chat, and I saw it, Jermaine. I did not put it on the screen. He said he's commented that he wanted the show to go on for one more hour. So Jermaine does that all the time. We appreciate that so much. But guys, we appreciate you.
Man.
Yeah, and for sticking with us from game one, week one, all the way till now. You guys are what makes this show great. The numbers have been amazing on it. The podcast downloads have been great. And we get to show our personalities a little bit, even though Roddy hates it when we do that. Yes. We do get to show off a little bit besides just football. And thank you so much for staying with us tonight. And we will see you next year, Georgia Clemson, post-game overreaction show. Maybe Roddy will let me go to a game next year. I don't know. I'm asking a lot. But, guys, we appreciate you.
You missed too many games this year. You don't.
You went to the Bama SEC championship game that one year.
They lost, yeah.
They were 0-1.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Well, guess what? I didn't go to this one. So Can't blame me for that.
Yeah, but then they went on the longest win streak in history after
We banned you from going to games. See,
right, you're right.
It worked.
So, hey, we appreciate it. For Ben Choppy Bachman, for Ryan and Bolsey, I'm Paul Maharry. Thank you again so much, guys. Hit that like button. We'll see you soon.